keep forgetting this one extra option. Sorry. I am live, it says. Am I live? Do I get confirmation?
The ad popped up, so yeah, we're good.
Hooray, we're back for a bi-weekly
friends.
So, yes, Captain, sorry.
Hello.
And we have a special guest this stream, Mr. Pocket Oni. Can you say hello?
Yes, indeed. Hello. Oh, I fucked it up. Sorry. I really wanted to say greetings or something in that voice, but I couldn't. I forgot.
You get a second chance. Go ahead. Have yourself a dramatic.
Oh, okay. Greetings, friends. Sorry, that's it.
It almost sounds like Dracula.
Yeah, almost.
Fits nice with the in the ears.
It's the second time that I have heard that about my accent. It's like, oh, you sound like a vampire. It's like, do I?
Hey, it's only fair. People say I sound like a Mexican, and now we have a Mexican, and you sound like a Transylvanian. So we're all over the place.
I had a few people say I sound British, which is kind of odd because my brother-in-law is actually British.
Maybe you caught it from him. Who knows?
Yeah, probably.
Though those British, they can be. What's the word?
Excuse me.
Yes, we're talking about you, Luke.
All right.
Your wacky way of talking can rub off on us before you know.
Baiting, you know what I mean? No, I mean, Gov.
With your silly things to say, I'm a little bit peckish. I find the word so weird. Peckish.
Yeah. Yes, apples and pears. Yes.
But yeah, so we'll be talking to Oni later. He does localizations of Japanese material, or do you want to explain yourself? Well, we'll talk about it indefinitely.
Sure, I could explain myself. Well, technically, I am a translator, an interpreter, and yes, I have worked in localization. Mostly, from English, French, and Japanese when it comes to, well, right now, mostly legal documents as well as technical documents, but from time to time, I enjoy myself by, translating comics, anime, or manga if possible. Depending, of course, on the kind of job that I can get to, and the company that I am working at the moment, because I am a freelancer. So, for example, if there is a point in which I don't receive any mangas or comics, I just move to whatever I can find in the local places around here.
All right, fair enough. Oh man, you dare to be a freelancer. I'm always too cowardly for that. Because
believe me, it's horrible.
Always that fear of, do I even get a job this month? Do I earn enough money? Because you're immediately stuck with taxes and all kinds of government rules where you have to make a certain amount of money every month. So, it's too stressful for me.
Indeed. Which is why I also have a regular job as a professor in a local university in my city.
Ooh, professor! Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I just finished a French class a few moments ago, and it's kind of weird to jump from French to English so quickly.
I can understand. Yeah,
they are both very weird languages.
Yeah.
Oh man, French drives me insane. I had it in high school, and I love making fun of it.
To be completely honest, French was kind of easy to me. I have been trying to learn German from the last few months, and that one is horrible for me. I do not know how people do so.
Yeah, German also has a lot of weird.
Yeah, like the schwaffen floppen.
Yeah.
Krankenwagen.
My only main knowledge of German is just the medic from TF2. Oktoberfest and stuff like that.
Of course, the cliches. I also had German in high school. I hated grammar. Oh, so complicated. But yeah, we'll talk more in depth to Oni later. I just want to give a brief introduction to him. If he suddenly might interject, you might be wondering where his weird voice is coming from. But first, Luke, you weren't there last time. What were you doing?
I was out with my dad for a Halloween parade, which we apparently missed because he read the article about it and he thought it started at 7:30, but apparently that's when it ended, and we caught the firework display instead.
Oh, it must be awesome because you live right at the ocean, right? So you have a wonderful.
I
view.
live at the southeast coast of England, near Southend-on-Sea, but because they were trying to do like a parade thing, because apparently, as it was a town, they decided to establish it as a city. So I decided to have this really cool parade. I saw photographs of it the next day. If you look up Southend-on-Sea Halloween parade.
All right. We can check those later. But yeah, we're glad you're back again. We miss you so much. 'Cause what's Halloween episode without a spooky British voice? Our own Christopher Lee here. Our own Dracula.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah, and speaking of scary things and being stabbed, you also did something to yourself?
Oh yes, I've got my very first ever tattoo. Because I've been considering it for like ages and ages, but I never thought of when I could do it, or how much it would cost, and what it might do to my skin, because I've got a skin condition called psoriasis, where my skin cells get reduced a little bit quick, might flare up in lesions. I mean, it's usually all right in the summer, but it kind of flares up a bit in winter. But after seeing all my mates at work all got tattoos, it kind of made me feel like a blank canvas in an art gallery. And after seeing my friend Steph's tattoo, aka Kawaii Stefu, she had a really awesome tattoo of Darkwing Duck, Goslin, and Launchpad on her shoulders. And after seeing that gave me the motivation and the confidence to have a tattoo. So I went to my local tattooist, just about 10 minutes away. Had a chat with him about what kind of tattoo I want. He said it's fine. Came back in an hour. And I showed him a design I want, which is of the Hylian shield design from The Legend of Zelda, as I'm a huge fan of The Legend of Zelda. And I've got it done for about half an hour, for about under £100. And yeah, it's pretty good. I thought it was going to be like excruciatingly painful, but no, it's actually what it's like. It's like someone drawing on your skin with a sharp vibrating pen. And I had like lots of advice on how to maintain it and look after it for the next 3 days to the next couple of weeks. So I got some like creams and things for it, and I had to like look after it. I mean, I noticed that it did go a bit smeary, but after a quick dab, it looks perfectly fine. And I was told it's a normal process. So yeah, I'm so glad I finally got a tattoo now.
Yeah, it's very classy and nerdy, but still it looks neutral enough.
Thank you.
Can almost see like a Popeye kind of guy who's having that on his shoulder.
Yeah, and also like have to be ready for like when it eventually scabs over for the healing process, and not to like touch it or get dirty on it or anything.
Ah, that's awesome. I mean, annoying when you have like a rash, but you're not allowed to scratch it. You have to stay away from it. So good luck with that.
Thanks. But also kind of might make me want to consider, if it goes well, if it heals up all right, it might consider me to do other tattoos in the future, because I've got this idea of having the emblem of the Jedi Order on one of my shoulders, like how the Jedi generals have that in the Clone Wars.
All right.
I forgot to mention, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Star Wars.
Of course. And is your next tattoo going to be this huge back tattoo like the Yakuza have?
Oh, no. I don't want anything too elaborate or big, and also my back is usually like one of my worst areas for psoriasis.
Oh, yeah, indeed. But yeah, that looks pretty cool, so I hope you enjoy your new tattoo.
Thank you very much.
All right, is there anything else we want to mention or talk about before we go into this? Captain, you have anything to mention about your life?
Well, no, not really. It's a bit windy right now, but that's about it.
Without eating too many beans, then. Sorry.
Oh, actually, I did just remember that the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6 anime debuts on December 1st, and it is apparently going to be dubbed simultaneously, so the sub and dub will be released at the same time.
Oh, wow, that's rare.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Man, JoJo is still going, but of course it stays relevant with all the references being made all the time.
Yeah, in fact, we might see a couple today.
Oh well, if you look close enough, everything is a JoJo's reference. Yeah, well, I guess we forgot Melting Man. You have anything to mention before we go into IDW?
Well, I've mostly just been very busy getting things installed on my PC. Mostly just experimenting a bit with Adobe Premiere, because I figured, like, well, my old Mac is very, very old, so I figured now it was finally time to focus more on my PC, which is currently my Windows 10. So I decided to move all of my Adobe products from there onto my PC and make sure that they're up to date. So I mostly just use Photoshop, Illustrator. So now I'm like, okay, I'll probably stop using iMovie, which I've used for years, and used Adobe Premiere for once. So I've been trying that out to make videos. I think the first thing I'm going to do is probably just my Kingdom Hearts retrospective video. I'll just do that as a test to try it out before going on with it. So, yeah, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to keep that up because, Adobe stuff ain't cheap.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, I think we wasted everyone's time enough. I have to kind of learn to be a little slower these days. Usually we jump right into it. So, but yeah, I guess it's time for IDW because we're finally at the big, exciting climax of the Zombot saga.
Yeah, exciting.
It sure is the big action-packed finale. Our heroes fighting against the Zeddy to save the world for once and for all. Yeah, does anyone want to give a synopsis of we start with 27. Mostly Amy and Tills versus Zom and I think Espio versus
Cream and General versus Xena.
All right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go. So yeah, Cream is when we last saw them, Xena had taken over General because that was clearly a bad idea to send a robot after a Zeddy. But because like Cream's love or whatever got to him through his mind control, he somehow destroyed his electromagnetic receiver in his head, and that gave him control of himself somehow. So that's an interesting distinction.
Yeah, it makes you kind of wonder why when robots listen to Zeddy or why not. Like, as if their powers only work for one specific style of technology. It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, implying that all of Eggman's robots have this electromagnetic receiver.
Which is, in general, was he an Eggman robot? Was he newly created?
Wasn't he just like a resurrected Emerald or something?
Yeah, but Emerald was made by Gerald Robotnik, right?
No. Emerald was made by the Nocturne clan. He was discovered by Gerald.
Oh, whoops.
And General, I believe, is Eggman rebuilding Emerald himself. So, like, it has Emerald's like personality and memories and stuff, but it's Eggman's technology.
Okay, that's good. Otherwise, that would imply that Eggman is still using the exact same technology as tribes ages before him. That would be awkward. How embarrassing, Eggman. But okay, I guess he is more new. But yeah, sorry for interrupting you. So yeah, Cream and General have to fight Xena.
Yeah, and so Xena, because she can't directly control General anymore, she puppets him with some weird energy strings, which apparently have a physical form that can be interacted with.
Yeah, that was also kind of confusing.
Yeah, like Cream stomps on it at one point, like General uses it to like tie up Xena somehow, which you would think he could just get out of by stopping.
Yeah, that was.
But whatever. Yeah, Xena goes down pretty easy.
Well, it took her more pages than the other Zeddy, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. General has this really badass moment where he like teleports behind Xena and says, "You hurt Cream," and then just proceeds to wail on her, just like grabs her by the hair and slams her into the ground. It's great. It was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of the same as the Werehog last time. The same kind of move.
Yeah.
There's no mention around it to throw her through furniture this time.
But in the scuffle, Cream ends up getting infected, and
Yeah, poor Cream.
she tells Gemerald to finish the mission, but he just chucks the Chaos Emerald through the portal and takes Cream far away. And it's a very sweet and wholesome moment.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Man, I love these landscape shots. I just love the setting of the comic. I really wish the games had used more of the setting like this. But that's me, I love
Exactly.
landscapes.
Yeah,
I'm kind of weird
This-
like that. That's
this was a good issue. I liked Cream's little badass moment where she fights back against Xena.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Amy and Tills had to outwit Zombot, which wasn't
Yeah.
also too hard as usual.
Then it was kind of an interesting callback to the first issue, where they used the same drawbridge that they did to defeat the bunch of badniks that they had Sonic and Tails fought.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. Okay, that's cool.
Mhm.
Oh, they love setup and payoff here. Which is good, because the games are terrible at that, and they always forget to run payoff and setups. So it's nice
Yeah.
to get somewhere
Very much.
done well. Yeah, so not much to say. It's a very fun comic, a lot of action, a lot of fun visuals. I love the art style as usual. You have something to
Yeah.
say, Luke?
I thought it's a very decent episode. A bit of a very dramatic ending there, but also it's awesome to see Xena get what's coming to her.
The face expressions are great. Oh man, I love this art.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, the captain was joking how easy they were taking out, but Xena and Zombot actually get the most respect out of all the Zeddies, because the other ones barely get 2 or 3 pages per defeat. But we'll get to that later. So I guess we're done with 27 now.
Yeah,
guess so.
issue 27. The only issue I don't have a physical copy on, because I somehow missed out on it back then. But I got it on my Kindle, so I'm all good.
All right.
But
So they
yeah,
still
it
got
is
their money.
interesting because Xena and Zomom are like the most one-dimensional out of all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They're usually not the ones that get the most respect, but and they're also some of the least motivated, together with Zore, I think. I can't remember the names right, but the depressed one.
Yeah,
So-
that's Zor.
Zore. So the fact that they get to their biggest epic fight is kind of interesting. But maybe because they're never respected, that's why they deserve a more epic fight, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, next, Silver versus Zore. Speaking of Zore, what a coinky dink.
Yeah, Silver versus Zore, and the one with SPO versus Zaz.
Right, you want to do this, Melting Man?
Yeah, I might as well. So let's see. So with fighting the other members of the Zeddy, we basically have Silver and Whisper teaming up to fight off Zore, who pretty much taunts Silver like, "Oh, so you're that guy from the future, full of bleakness and misery." And so they're doing that, and SBO is still continuing on with his fight against Zaz, fighting off Zaz's stars of doom that he shoots from that whatever that thing is, like giant meteor face thing.
Super Mario Galaxy thing.
Yeah. So yeah, they both managed to succeed, and the way they like finish them off, I find it pretty interesting. Like they leave Zore behind with the Zombot, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm left behind, helpless. It's perfect."
Yeah.
And he just really loves the misery. And then with Zaz, like SBL, like quickly grabs the emerald and leaves behind the message showing off the signatures of the Chaotix, which I found that pretty neat. And
Yeah, that's something I want to talk about, but
yeah, so then we finish off the Babylon Rogues going up against what was it, Master
Zik.
Zik, yeah. Kind of weird. That's like the shortest confrontation they have there. But so they managed to get the emerald, but they only have one extreme gear because Wave and Storms were destroyed, so just the only one. So as the team leader, he decides to just tie the emerald onto his board and send it through the portal and stays behind with his members because, Team Babylon, we never give up. That kind of uplifting spirit.
Yeah, I
So-
like that. They needed that
Yeah.
because last time we saw them in Zero Gravity, they weren't really friends. They were terrible. But yeah, sorry for
Yeah.
interrupting.
So then we cut back to Angel Island, where all the emeralds, most of them, have been teleported back to Angel Island. The face ship is already in range, so they're like, "Okay, Rouge, do it now! Get the emerald now!" And she manages to do it without a hitch, but of course that really pisses off Zavok because it also disables the face ship's power. So now it just crashes to the ground. But of course that ain't stopping Zavok because now he turns into giant Godzilla form.
Still, that's super hilarious to me that regular Zavok is defeated so easily. Rouge just steals his emerald, is immediately gone. That's it. There's no fight at all.
Yeah, when I see giant demon god kaiju Zavok, I was like, why wasn't this the final boss of Sonic Lost World? He looks so awesome and like so final boss-like. He would have been a much more better fight than Eggman.
Right?
Yeah.
And not just
turned
Egg.
giant in Lost World, didn't he?
Like, imagine if he had all the powers of the Chaos Emerald.
He did. He did turn
Yeah,
giant
he did
in Lost
become.
World.
He did become giant, which was like the second to last boss. Although with
But it wasn't
giant
as epic
Zavok,
as this, no.
No, not
Giant
at all.
Zavok was just deliberately ripping off one of the Bowser battles from New Super Mario
Or,
Brothers.
or an alternative idea, why don't all the Zeti combine together to create this giant demonic hybrid thing?
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, they really underutilized Zeddy.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of an idea I had with just ideas of rewriting Sonic Lost World, and I kind of just threw out this idea like, oh, you know, the giant robot that you fight at the end. Well, what if instead of robotic, it's actually all the Zeti powering it? So you know, a bit of a Power Rangers move there.
Yeah, it would kind of look like the tyrant from Resident Evil, but like it's like really tall, really huge, like 50 feet tall or something.
Yeah.
But also him using Zombots as a weapon, just throwing them at people. I love that idea as well. It's too bad they don't do too much with it. But
Yeah.
that's great. I love that. It's a nice
Just
So,
spill my island.
nice
Oh,
cartoon.
there was a hilarious bit where he just spits and Knuckles goes, "Did you just spit on my island?"
Oh, yeah, the fireball. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah, yeah.
I like that.
Flaming loogies.
But of course, the captain wants to make a JoJo reference.
Yeah, the SBO versus Zaz fight. It ends with SBO doing a doing a Muda Rush against Zaz. Is pretty interesting. It looks like something straight out of Part 5.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like something got Dragon Ball Z too, so I think it's just a normal anime film.
Yeah.
But it looks
Then
epic, so yeah. It's not
Yeah.
different.
Then it seems like we keep mentioning JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. So it's like, maybe in the next stream we'll just pull up a tally, like, okay, here's how many times the captain has referenced JoJo's Bizarre Adventures in IDW Sonic.
Feel free to
Quite a
send
few.
them.
But that aside, there was the very sweet moment where, like, after SBO gets the Chaos Emerald, he like says to himself, like, I was the only one here in body, but you were here in spirit, as he's thinking about.
Yeah,
Vector
I suppose it
and
could be
Garnet.
similar to that of the end of Part 3, where Johto thinks back to all the friends he lost.
Okay, I wasn't even. Now Luke's making the JoJo references.
No, like at the
Oh, wow.
end where you see Kakoid and Avdol and poor little Iggy,
Iggy.
that sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it.
I guess we'll have to assume that Ian Flynn just really loves JoJo's Bizarre Adventures.
That's great. But yeah, I was just bringing it up because it was a very sweet moment.
Absolutely, it's nice to have some sort of payoff. I was kind of waiting for that because it's kind of weird because they have the big moment where SPO becomes like the new leader of the detective agency. So I was kind of hoping to see him actually do something detective-y, which I guess he kind of did by outwitting. What's his name again? Saz. I can't remember all these Zeddy names. So I guess he kind of has a moment, but he never really becomes like a detective leader. So that's a shame. But nevertheless, it's still like a nice payoff to it a little bit. The memories.
Yeah. And speaking of wholesome moments, the Babylon Rogues finale was pretty sweet as well.
Oh yeah, I like that scene. It definitely gives me a lot more respect to the characters compared to how I had no respect for them years ago when Sonic Riders was at its prime.
Yeah, Zero Gravity really didn't do them any favors. Then again, they didn't do any character any favors.
Yeah,
so
same
terrible
with
that-
Free Riders, yeah.
Oh, I mean Free Riders. Sorry. No, Zero Gravity was decent. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Blasphemy. I'm so sorry. I mean, Zero Gravity isn't the masterpiece or anything, but that was perfectly fine.
Well, I still haven't played any of the Sonic Riders games all the way, so I
More
haven't
blasphemy!
Dissected.
Did Wave always have a giant wrench?
Yes, she did. It was her weapon in Sonic Riders 1.
Oh,
Yeah,
right, she used the giant nuts in that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
melee attacks, yeah. That's where Eggman's fart attack also comes from.
Yep.
She probably go, I'm here to wrench your giant nuts or something.
Yeah, giant nuts, if you know what I mean.
And Knuckles had an attack where he just yelled.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm confused.
Oh, weird, I never made that joke.
And I think the most interesting one was Sonic's level 3, where he spin dashes, and if he runs over somebody, you actually hear bones cracking.
Oh, damn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Man, didn't know they could get away with that back then.
Well,
Yes.
Sonic Riders is great. I also love how
It is.
Knuckles can just punch traffic away. Just punch some
Yeah.
cars out of the road.
And Eggman, too. I always loved that when playing as Eggman. It's just punching the train out of the way on that first level.
Out of my way!
I suppose like in Final Fantasy VI, where that guy suplexes the train.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then again, Sonic could also do that in Sonic Adventure 2, where, like, Insidious game, you just run into a car and it goes flying and it hits other cars and it just causes this domino effect.
Lovely video game logic, yes. Sabin was in Final Fantasy VI? Sabin? I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh, well. Right, so the battle with Zavok Godzilla. You want to do this one, Luke? Or
Yes. Oh, yes, I will. I just need to...
yeah, I grabbed your comic.
No, I got it right here. Okay, so the final battle with God Demon Zavok, where he throws all the Zombots at the heroes. He's blasting away. Oh no, what are they going to do? So Knuckles is said he's going to haunt them or something. He's going to be a ghost or something. So Sonic runs away a bit. Then Metal Sonic saves Sonic. But so Sonic and Silver are trying to take on God Zavok, but Metal Sonic is there as well. They're fighting. Silver's using the emeralds. Metal Sonic's got this protective diamond thing. So there's a lot going on in it. Yes, there seems to be quite a lot going on here about what's going on. God Zavok's blowing a bit, like a big puff. Sonic crashes into the ground. He's almost zombotified. All the others are fighting. Oh dear, Knuckles is also almost becoming a zombot. And Eggman, he's about to be stalked by Creepy Big.
Yeah, they're all almost dying.
Yeah. Amy attacks. Oh no, Amy seems to be gonna get infected. Oh no, the frog's coming.
Yeah, that's the great bit. It's like he manages to escape from Zombot Big, but now he's about to be consumed by Zombot Froggy.
Isn't it sweet and heartwarming? Even as Zombots are still best friends working together.
Oh yeah, and also Knuckles becomes a full Zombot, and Tails is crying, and he's like, "Oh no, don't kill me!" And they're all gonna get Sonic. Oh dear. Sonic is trying to get the emerald out, and Silver. Oh, he gets the emerald out and tosses it to Silver. Then they become super. Yeah, they got all the emeralds, and now they become Super Sonic and Super Silver. And with Zavok's like, I'm gonna crush you with the loss of my strength. And then they do this amazing power thing, and then he got blasted away into space. I remember this. There's a portal where they had to open a portal where they had to withdraw the entire virus using the power using the Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that can happen. If that's possible, like drain the entire virus away so they could dump it somewhere else. But it's a very touching moment. Everyone's cured. Everything's okay. Everyone's happy. They're all hugging. Such a touching moment. So awesome. Lovely scene with Cream and her mother finally reunited. but then the portal is becoming a lot more unstable, trying to dump the virus away. But the warp topaz, that's what they're using, isn't going to last much longer. So what they're going to do, but everything's all been drawn away. It's a really awesome scene. And suddenly there's a huge, massive explosion. Oh no! Something crashes into the ground. But only Silver crashed to the ground. Because it turns out that Sonic got trapped in another dimension.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, the worst possible dimension you can think of. The meta era.
So you got
no.
like that moment where Sonic seems to have done a self-sacrifice, but you know he's going to be okay, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, so you channeled the bum from the Soldier Critic for.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
Yeah.
The greatest comic I've ever seen in my life.
Good old bum. Yeah,
But-
there's definitely one scene I want to comment on, and that's that's the scene after Knuckles is fully consumed by the Zombot energy, and we see Tails, who's cowering in fear, as he's also slowly turning into a Zombot, and he's like crying for Sonic, please. And I'm just like, yeah, now that is how you handle Tails being helpless and crying out for Sonic the right way. Isn't that right, Sonic Forces?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
when Chaos turned up.
I
Yeah.
wonder
Yeah.
if it's a reference because it is shockingly similar in terms of
Yeah,
his
he's doing a very
pose.
similar pose, but in this time it's way more justified.
The context is way better. Yes,
hmm
this is pretty intense because he has no way to fight without him touching the Zombots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some moments I wanted to bring up. One is seeing Sonic and Metal Sonic work together is pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, and they even brought back his Metal's diamond shield thing from
The Black Shield,
Black Shield. Yeah, that was from Adventure 2, I think, or was that something
Yes.
else?
Adventure 2.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, and I like the use of the character. So it isn't like the games where just super Sonic himself being the super all powerful Mary Sue and everyone else just cheering him on. Like almost everyone gets to do something here.
Yeah, and you can see it like an actual proper final boss fight. And you can actually imagine like Crush 40 singing over it and that.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah, that does bring up another point. Like, this is the first time we've seen any supersonic action in like years. Like, in terms of the games, yeah, Generations was like the last time we saw him. Like, in terms of story, but yeah.
Oh my god, that's actually a good point.
hmm
Very sad
But-
point. Yes.
Well, yeah, they sure made up for the last time, or for the lack of seeing him for a while, because Supersonic is badass in this comic.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
He has this one frame where he just attacks Zavok like hundreds of times in a second. It's awesome.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of that team power-up move from Sonic Heroes during the final battle with Metal Overlord.
Mm.
Very intense. Yeah. I also love the coloring for some reason. They made him a little darker. It kind of works. But I'm always interested in weird things, I guess. Yeah, very awesome. Very awesome comic. A very satisfying climax. Although some say it's still anticlimactic. I mean,
Well, then again, Silver does comment on that when they defeat Zavok.
well, the original attack. Oh, wait, yes.
Ah,
Well, as soon as they super, they kill him on one hit. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, no time to be fancy. You just have to get it over with. But yeah, the whole
Uh,
ending kind of confused me what they exactly were doing and how the whole other dimension stuff worked. But, oh well.
Yeah,
and once
just-
again, seeing the Chaotix together again is great, and they're singing their theme song, and it's adorable. I love these guys.
yeah, that's. I also love the scene with Rouge, who's just
Yes.
like it was like making out with the Master Emerald or something, and she's like,
Yes.
"The world's about to end. I want to spend the last moments of my life with the one I love."
Yeah,
As Shadow and Knuckles both being jealous. A nice fitting.
which is weird.
Well, that's because the Master Emerald is real hard. Like real hard.
Yeah.
And nobody brought up the most heartwarming of all togetherness. Eggman and the Royal Froggy together.
Well, that and Cream being reunited with Vanilla.
Nah, Eggman with Froggy, that's the real reunition that we wanted to see.
Yeah, in a way, this kind of parallels real life, where like all the restrictions finally got lifted, and we all got to finally meet up, friends and family that we haven't seen in a very long time.
Oh, yeah, commentary on the coronavirus. Yeah.
Yeah, although I'm sure that was pure coincidental because I don't think or at least most of the restrictions didn't ease up, or at least most of them didn't ease up back then or so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've lost track. What is this? 2005?
Yeah. All those vaccinations were for nothing. We should have just gotten some supersonic and got rid of coronavirus in one hit.
Yes.
Just send it into the sun.
Yeah, using the super forms and the
Grab a
proton.
hedgehog, add some jewelry, and throw him into the sun. There you go. There goes the coronavirus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it ends with the metal virus. I think Captain Theory wasn't really fond of the idea when they, or at least brought up the idea like a couple issues back.
Yeah, just the idea of just warping it out with chaos control, which they didn't even do. Like, it seemed like Silver was the one pulling it out with his psychokinesis, which I guess is slightly more understandable. But it's
Yeah, that
still
is
weird
true, isn't
because like the virus fuses with their flesh, so I don't exactly understand how they just extract it like that. But I'd take the psychokinesis over warping it away.
Aye. Well, maybe his psychokinesis was just more of a special blend of water. You know, just wash it off. It's easy.
I would just say that the Chaos Emeralds just do anything it wants to, and it could bend time, it could bend reality, it could pretty much do anything the writers wants it to do.
Yeah.
That is a fair point.
Yeah,
It's just a reset
especially in Archie Sonic, where they pretty much created a whole new continuity, but that was more of an Archie Sonic thing.
Spoiler alert! We're going to the Archie comic later. Calm your horses, buddy. Calm your horses.
I can't take it anymore.
But yeah,
Alright,
I know.
Should we move on to issue 30?
I guess, even though that technically
can I
was
do
the
it
re-
30?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah,
Everyone else has done one. You want to do the synopsis this time, Roger?
Yeah, we
sure.
haven't seen you do synopsises.
Yeah, I never do them. How lazy of me. Yeah, this was a bit of a weird issue because basically the real plot is over, so it's kind of like an epilogue, but it's a very action-packed epilogue. So I mean, I guess it's kind of fitting because IDW started as a weird epilogue action show where it follows up on the end of Forces, where the main story is already over, and then we're just kind of dealing with the fallout, and that's kind of what this issue does with its own story now. So basically, the big adventure is over, the Zombots are cured, but Sonic has disappeared. But it doesn't really go too much into that yet because first we still have a bit of an epilogue final fight with the Zeddy. Well, kind of. The most of the Zeddy are just kind of off. Which I kind of like because, again, most of the Zeddys are never really motivated to be evil to begin with. It's really only Zavok that's the big bad guy. Every other Zeddy's is like, oh, I just want to eat lunch. I just want to, whatever. So they're kind of tragic when you think about it. Most of them aren't really that evil. Most of them just want to be left alone and just do their thing. It's just Zavok who constantly forces them back. Which is kind of noticed somewhere too, because I remember one of the Zeddy kind of saying, like, oh, the beating I got is nothing compared to the beating Zavok gives me. I thought, whoa. I mean, there's some really dark stuff with the Zeddy they never really go into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the fact that Cream got Cheese to attack Zavok. That was a nice callback to how overpowered Cheese is in Sonic Advance, I suppose. And
Yeah.
Oh, gee. Well, that and also in Sonic Heroes, yeah.
Well, less so in Sonic Heroes, but yeah, you can still use cheese in Sonic Heroes, and that is where she says, "Cheese, get him." So I was able to hear that panel.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta love it how the Zeddy are equally more badass than they ever were in Lost World, but also equally more anticlimactic in how easily they get beaten a lot.
Yeah, I just like how in the beginning, like everyone just suddenly ganged up on Zavok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it all just started kicking him to death.
It's kind of
I love that because like Zavok's like, "I will not fall," so Silver's like, "Then you will be crushed."
yeah, it's kind of fun to see his own personality really go up against him. That you never realize, like, oh yeah, right, everyone is cured, so now I have like 10,000 opponents to fight against. So I was really confused at first, like, how is Zavok still going to be a threat at this point? But then it's really just a wrap up, I suppose. Not really supposed to be a thrilling final fight. It's just cathartic to see him get beaten up. Even though,
Yeah,
funny
because
enough, yeah,
Because we all know that nobody loves Zavok.
nope, except Sonic Team somehow. But yeah, it's just him being beaten up. Even though he wasn't even the main villain of the saga at all, but I guess he was the last enemy, so there you go.
Yeah, maybe this. Now that I think about it, the whole bit with everyone ganging up on Zavok, maybe that was just made out of frustration from Ian Flynn with all the mandates he had to go for IDW Sonic.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Guys, come on! That's the superpower of friendship. You just get all your friends and you beat the crap out of someone.
Oh yes, the typical Japanese trope. Yeah, power friendship.
At least done properly this time. The games never did this. The games, their friends would just get to cheer Sonic on. Now they actually get to participate, and it's very cathartic. So hey, this is a much better use. What
except for Shadow, who is literally, he just shows up. He's not even he didn't make a heroic entrance with everyone else. He's just there so he can leave.
That was so confusing. Yeah. I saw it because it was at the start of a new page. You see him walking away, so I kind of went to the previous page. Like, oh, did we see him attack somewhere? But no, he never attacks. He just walks away in the background.
Yeah.
He's just there so he can be apathetic.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. He's not really needed, but yeah, it is kind of annoying, especially considering how bad he was written before. So just yet again, him just having to sit everything out is kind of annoying. Man, I really hope they do something with Shadow soon, because man, did they do him no favors in this entire saga.
Man, well, we're slowly getting to a story arc that features Shadow, but we'll wait and see how that turns out.
Oh boy, I have a bad feeling about this. But yeah, it's a nice epilogue. We get to see the Babylon Rogues who survived. We see all the other Zeddies just kind of walk away because they don't really care, like I said, and we finally get to see something I wanted to see for a very, very, very long time. We get to see Blaze Kingdom. Oh wait, I skipped a part.
Yeah, this is definitely the first time in any Sonic media where we actually see Blaze's Kingdom and not just random island in the middle of nowhere.
I was kind of disappointed how European it looked like. I always had in mind see it lives in some sort of more India-based kingdom or something. That's what I had in mind. I mean, I guess her palace kind of looks India-esque, or at least very exotic Eastern.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that palace Bruce Seeley in Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Oh, right, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
But I skipped over a part, so forgive me. A lot more happened, man. It was a very chaotic comic, this one, because there were a lot of weird epilogue stuff. So, Amy and Knuckles talk a bit more about Sonic returning or not. And all of a sudden, Rude was still being a pain for Knuckles, which is always great. I love the interaction.
Yeah, her just laying on the emerald like, oh, just give me 5 more minutes.
That's great. Oh, man. I really miss that interaction between Knuckles and Rude. So those the highlights of the Adventure era. So it's nice to finally see it return.
Yeah.
But yeah, another last fight with Eggman, Metal Sonic, again, who are escaping, and a very brutal beatdown of Gemerald. So suddenly a bit of a darker ending, even though the rest is very lighthearted.
Good.
So, yeah, poor Gemerald, but of course then, then Shadow gets a little more involved here, yeah.
Metal Sonic pulls a King Crimson on Gemerald.
Yeah.
So that's JoJo reference number 3 for people counting.
Well, 3 times the charm.
Of course.
I also like this panel with Orbot has Omega's head for some reason.
Oh yeah, that's confusing.
It is I'm not liking the implications of this, but this panel is great. Where Omega is destroy all Eggman robots. Red drone, use me to bludgeon the yellow drone, then yourself.
Oh wow!
Holy crap! Oh my God, the captain's turned into a Zombot.
Oh my God, yeah. But yeah, Omega's always awesome.
I love him.
Yeah, he's always written better in the comics than he is in the games.
In the games, he's pretty secondary to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's a shame, yeah. I never really do anything fun with him, except Sonic Chronicles. I also kind of liked Orbot and Cubot constantly being hats and being thrown around disrespectfully. I kind of like it when they're more comic relief characters at their own expense rather than at Eggman's expense.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's a panel where Metal Sonic just straight up impales Gemma with his arm.
Yeah, I already discussed this.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
King Crimson on him.
Sorry, got it.
But it's a very epic panel, yes.
Or for, I guess, people who haven't seen or read Part 5, pull the Cockyween.
Yes.
A Tatooine?
Cockyween. He's the character from Part 3 who Didn't make it.
Oh well, understandable, but that move, or yeah, hard pull out of your chest that can be healthy.
Yeah, and then of course, with the introduction of Blaze's Kingdom, we also see, Sonic now got launched there. And I remember, like, before this issue came out, me and a friend of mine kind of joked about, like, what happened to Sonic. And I remember joking around, like, oh, he ended up in the My Little Pony universe. There, Sonic and MLP crossover confirmed. But nope.
Close enough, I guess. Maybe there are ponies in Blaze Dimension. But yeah, it's awesome to see your kingdom. Sorry, do you want someone to say something?
There is a weird thing about this. Is like the last time we saw Blaze, she was just hanging out with Silver, helping him with his garden, and now she's back home for some reason.
Yeah, there is actually a little bit of history with why Blaze is completely absent during the Zombot arc, because apparently I've heard she originally was planned, like she was trying to use her like pyrokinesis, but apparently that really did a lot of damage to the Zombots, so that would cause a lot of like more darker themes. So she'd try to have to defend herself without using her powers. But I think they took it out because they considered it a little too dark. Because like, yeah, Zombots like melting, like, well, we did comment before how they sort of act like the T-1000s from the Terminator, and I think they got destroyed by lava or something like that.
Implying she actually killed
I'm sorry, I was also thinking, do you imagine how awkward it would have been if Sonic accidentally dumped the virus in Blaze's dimension?
Ooh!
I
haven't even thought about that. Oh my.
Yeah, there's some parody material for you.
Yeah, I guess we have something now.
Yeah,
so
or if you want to be even more cynical, just dump like the Metal Virus arc onto the meta era Sonic universe.
Sonic Boom.
Yeah, Sonic Boom. That deserves that shit.
Yes.
We're so bitter and angry.
I wish to point out one thing. It's kind of funny to me that Blaze goes to Sonic's world like pretty much all the time for whatever reason. Like birthday party, Blaze goes, and then it's like Olympic Games, Blaze goes. But when there is a freaking virus almost killing 99% of the population in the Sonic's world, just no Blaze whatsoever. Like it's kind of funny to me that they didn't decide to. Apparently, the Soul Emeralds didn't decide to call for Blaze's help in this particular moment. But for the Olympics or a birthday party, that's great.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Actually, they did allude to that earlier. Is that Blaze said she came back to this world because the Soul Emeralds told her that there was something tragic about to happen, but they all just assumed that the Soul Emeralds were referring to Eggman's conquering of the world, and she was too late to help with that.
Yeah, the whole.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Still kind of funny to me.
Yeah, I like the idea that Soul Emeralds are just sports fans. They're just watching television, watching sports. Oh, Olympics, you have to join! Like, oh, the end of the world? Whatever. Oh, rugby game, let's join that one. The Soul Emeralds are just always drinking beer and just watching sports. That's what they care about.
Yeah, come on, Blaze, we bet all our money on you, so don't lose in the Olympics.
Exactly.
You know, this kind of gives me the idea that the Soul Emeralds seem to be in better control than the Chaos Emeralds, because Blaze just has them whenever she needs them.
Yeah, that is true. I assume that the Soul Emeralds don't like scatter into parts unknown whenever they're used up, like what the Chaos Emeralds do.
Yeah.
Alex Bazinga, thank you for the donation. Very nice of you.
They don't have to lose them for the 38th time.
Stupid emeralds all the time, yeah. But yeah, so the idea was that she was melting the Zombot, so basically murdered civilians. That's kind of dark.
Yeah, I think that was the idea why they cut her out of the original plan, because her like actually killing the Mobians was considered a little too dark to handle.
Yeah, because I suddenly realized we haven't seen no characters show up in the epilogue again. What happened to the very first Zombots, Rough and Tumble? They never show up again. So they might have been the ones Blaze killed.
I think I've got another idea of why Blaze didn't like get involved when the Zombot virus was happening. Maybe she heard about it, but it's like busy with all these taxes and approvals and all that, and she's trying to run the kingdom.
Very busy doing princessy things.
Yeah, and all the paperwork.
She's doing a better job than Peach anyway. At least we see her do princess work. But yeah, maybe that's what the Soul Emeralds called her for. Tax evasion, much more important than the end of the world. We want our money.
Yeah, better than Peach, and maybe even better than Princess Twilight Sparkle, but who knows?
Oh.
Well, at least Twilight Sparkle walks around helping people in town. I don't think Peach ever helped a single Toad other than just sicking Mario on them.
Fair
And,
enough.
and yeah, she didn't really get into full princess stuff until she took over Canterlot at like the last season. But yeah,
Last episode.
last episode, yeah. Yeah, which is sadly overshadowed with the previous two-parter, which I actually didn't find it that bad. It's just a lot of people have a lot of gripes with a certain plot twist.
All right. You gonna give spoilers
Anyway,
for
that's
My
just-
Little Ponies now?
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. We'll me and Captain will stop rambling on about ponies.
I don't
Yeah.
mind talking about them. It's probably kind of bad idea to spoil the ending for another show people aren't even expecting here.
Fair enough.
This week on Roger's live stream, we spoil everything.
That's where we're good at.
Darth Vader is Luke's father!
Oh no!
No, the Red Sleigh was Luke's father, and people are. And
Rosebud was the name of his sled!
It was all a dream. It wasn't a dream.
It was a nightmare. So enjoyable, ruining everyone's fun, huh? Oh well. Thank goodness our pop culture is all ancient stuff from decades ago.
Yeah.
Nobody
that-
watched
that
the new
was the
Dune
joke.
or something to spoil.
No, I never bothered watching Dune. I'm way behind on whatever popular TV shows are on these days.
So
Oh, I
those-
saw it.
Okay, scratch that. The only modern TV show that I'm more familiar with is the Animaniacs reboot on Hulu. I recently got done watching season 2, and it was pretty good.
I keep forgetting to watch season 2.
good to hear. But yeah, Luke watches Dune, so he can spoil that one. That's good.
Yeah, but it's all right. I mean, I found it a little bit more easier to follow than the original movie because what they're going to do, they're going to split it into a trilogy because what they've done they compressed it all into one movie because there was a lot of going on about like how Paul is like space Jesus or something for the Fremen, and also there's a warring feud between House Atreides and House Harkonnen, and like he's on the run and he finds the Freeman and like. And I think he has to can control the space worms or something. Though we have to wait and see how he's going to help the Freeman take back Arrakis from the Harkonnens.
Yeah, that's always the problem with translating a novel to a single movie. Just way too much information to get across, and especially when you got David Lynch to direct the movie because all those visuals are more confusing than helpful. But yeah, I don't know much
Yeah.
about Dune though.
I just saw a comment in there saying how someone was annoyed about Marine's cameo in one of the covers, yet she didn't appear in the arc, which I think someone pointed that out in one of the comments. Like, the reason why Marine wasn't featured was because Sega didn't want them to introduce, quote-unquote, new characters so late into the story arc, or something like that.
Yeah, I guess it's already very overstaffed, but
They should introduce him anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, we see Blaze's Kingdom, so maybe we can actually see, like, this is where Marine, like, actually has a house and not, being on this abandoned island in the middle of nowhere.
well, she did have a house. That's where the hub of Sonic Cross Adventure was, right? It was Marine's
Just
house?
the island.
Yeah,
Yeah, just the island part, yeah. But we don't know if that's actually her own home, because, like, if she lives in Blaze's Kingdom, then, like, then the island thing, that's, like, a vacation spot where she does, her adventure and pirating stuff. So that would add a little more depth to the character.
Well, she didn't know Blaze before that. Well, I mean, she didn't meet Blaze personally, so I think she does live on the island. And she only officially... I don't remember the exact details, but I always had the idea that she did live on the island, and the island is like a village eventually, but you just have to save people first.
Yeah, that is another thing, because, like, koala bears and polar bear NPCs on that island, which we actually see a koala bear soldier on Blaze's Kingdom. So I don't know if that's, like, an actual civilian from Blaze's homeworld, or just a random villager on the island of nowhere.
I'm not sure.
I can talk about this because Sonic Rush Adventure is actually one of my favorite games, probably top 3.
Can you repeat
The
that?
Bears.
Sorry, can you repeat
Yes,
that?
Sonic Rush Adventure is actually one of my favorite games of Sonic's, kind of like top 3, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I think the Bears were Vikings, so they really don't have they have their own kingdom, but they were just randomly in a nice island.
Okay. Could be. I don't know the specific
Yeah.
details.
Vikings.
Yeah, like one of the polar bears. I think one's dressed up like a Viking.
So I guess it's kind of like the echidnas in Sonic's world, that the specific tribe that only exists in one spot.
Ah, yeah, that's
Except
not
the
good.
echidnas died out and the polar bears didn't. Yet!
Well, they were frozen, but so apparently they didn't die because of it.
Cartoon logic, I guess. Alright, cool.
hmm
So, I guess it's about time for our conversation with Oni, because I don't get to talk with a localizer or official translator every single day, and there were a couple of things I was kind of curious about, so you might have a...
Ah, yes.
Well,
Bit
for
of a
this
tough-
section, I think I will be heading out because I've got some things to do. So,
Fair enough. Thank you for
All
joining
right.
us today, Captain. Of course, everyone
no
who wants
problem.
to leave, go ahead. Well, it's lovely. Okay, good to hear. And see you next time then.
Yep. See you in a couple weeks.
Yes, see you in 2 weeks again. Bye-bye.
Cheerio, mate.
Yeah.
All right. So, localization, because I don't know. We already introduced you. Because I find it kind of fascinating with kanji, right? The signs that Japanese use to write down their language. It's different because we're used to letters and words that are more technical. Well, the Japanese use like signs that refer to specific feelings and actual things. So that's like
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. How to explain it? Well, let's say it this way. I will need to explain a little bit of the origin of words because, there was a point in which obviously words weren't invented or written. So pretty much the evolution of writing was different from the West and from the East. Yeah. So while in the West, for example, um, animals, symbols for animals, they became so simplified that they became, normal letters that we know right now. In Asian countries, that was the opposite. They became simplified, but they are more like pictograms. They are supposed to be like drawings, complete drawings that represent an idea. So when we see a kanji, what we are actually seeing is a very simplified drawing of what it is supposed to represent.
right. It makes sense. think I saw a couple examples of that, although it's very abstract. It really reminds me of Pete Mondrian paintings a little bit. But anyway, the point I was making is not so much. I mean, it's interesting that there's such a difference, but it has an effect on how language works because our language is made out of much more smaller parts. We can be a lot more specific. Where with Japanese, they use much more like specific, always the same token phrases, and that's what I often notice with watching Japanese anime that are more literal translated. That the dialogue sounds a lot more stiff because like where we like tailor our sentences more specifically towards everyone's personality individual, in Japanese they have much more stock phrases, so everyone kind of sounds alike. Is that true? Is that something you notice?
I have noticed that, yes, but it is not really something about language because when it comes to language, they actually have many different phrases. It's mostly about writing because, well, we're here in the West, for example, when it comes to comics or media or whatever, we are accustomed to having lots of people working in different aspects. You have a person that makes the drawings, for example. There are some people that make the dialogue, some people that make the story, that kind of stuff. But in Japan, the mangakas, for example, they are just one person in many cases. So one comic, well, one manga, for example, refers. It's the work of one person, and that one person is the writer and the cartoonist pretty much it does everything. So the thing is, not everybody has like all abilities in the same level. As in, for example, I could be a great cartoonist, as in I am amazing at drawing, but I am not really good at storytelling, or I am not really good at making dialogues between people because I am a lonely nerd that never speaks with people outside of the internet. So my dialogue can become very stiff in that regard. On the contrary, you can have amazing people that make amazing stories, but they do not know how to draw, like the one from One Punch Man, for example. Yeah,
Yeah,
that guy,
One
he
Punch
is
Man.
amazing at telling stories, but he's not really good at making drawings. So, in fact, the story became so popular because of the story, not really of the drawings. It wasn't until it was taken by Murata, I believe that's the name, that the story and the drawings became, in tandem together. But yeah, that's pretty much one of the origins of why certain characters are so stiff whenever they speak. It's just that they don't have like a good writer making sure that they are talking in a normal way.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I do a lot of this stuff myself, my animations, and there's some stuff I'm adequate about and some terrible, like audio. So I understand that. But I can't imagine it's only that because I'm particularly think of games like from Square Enix, like Kingdom Hearts, that have this very particular way of where the characters talk. How do you explain that? It's like they always use the same phrases that in our language we use a lot more words for. Like they use the word heart a lot, but it refers to someone's drive, someone's motivation, someone's passion, someone's love for others. Like we have multiple words to describe it. It's because it's such a big thing, but they always use that one specific word, and as a result, it feels so weird and alien to me. Like every character is like a weird space monk. I mean, I guess Kingdom Hearts is an extreme example, but and I get the feeling that's because of kanji or whatever you get.
Honestly, playing Kingdom Hearts in both English and Japanese, it kind of sounds off a little bit too in Japanese. Mostly because here comes another point. Um, acting in the West and acting in Japan evolve in different ways. Yes, here in the West we have, for example, Hollywood and the theater, the opera. But in Japan they have, the kabuki, and the kabuki theater is completely different from here in the West. So many of the oddities when it comes to acting is because for Japanese people it's the normal way of acting, but not really the normal way to talk. So, for example, if you play a game like Kingdom Hearts in Japanese, it feels more like the characters are acting, as in they were trying to convey the feeling of a movie, but not really talking in a chatty normal way.
Oh, I see. Because I mean, languages always do that. I mean, look in England in television, they always use a specific television English, not really the local accents, right? I guess he's gone
No, I'm
now.
here. You're gonna ask me something.
So yeah, sorry. Yeah, on television when you watch the BBC or something, they always use very like television language, right? They don't use any specific accents unless they deliberately want to do that.
Well, I suppose when you got like the news, they talk in a very the posh like thing, and like I suppose it depends on the audience really, because sometimes in like commercials and that they always try to be more act a bit more streetwise to it in their accents. I don't know anything about specific words. They usually use everyday words, as far as I know.
Yeah, because I
I
know
don't. I
like
don't watch a lot of British telly, to be honest. I mean, the only thing that's worth watching on British standard telly at the moment is probably Doctor Who, and sometimes me and my dad will watch this game show called Pointless, where contestants have to find the most obscure answer to win in that.
All right, that sounds like
yeah.
a fun show. Then in America, of course, that's the point too, right? They have like specific Central American voice and not accents.
Yeah, it's kind of just I don't know, like some people think it's more like generic, Southern accent kind of Western, but no, it's just more I don't I don't know how to describe it, just kind of typical Western, not like stereotypical Southern accent. But I do know with like how there are certain words that definitely mean different things, which is something that I learned in college when I was doing PowerPoint on expats. It was like something like people from a different country living in like someone lives in Britain and now they live in the U.S. but they still have like family members that live in back in the Brits or something like that. So that's when I kind of learned like there's definitely certain words that means different things in different areas. Like I'll try and keep it clean here. So like the word fanny, that's kind of like a thing,
Yeah.
bit of an old fashioned. That's kind of an old-fashioned Western thing, but that's just like fanny. That's just a phrase to mean our butts. But over in the UK, it's a whole other different meaning over there.
That's the problem with British curse words.
It's kind of like
They
the
sound
same
so
with
innocent.
bum.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with English. You sound so innocent. It doesn't sound like a terrible word. It's like, bum, that's nice. Or bollocks, oh, nice.
Yeah, I definitely had to. In fact, before I went on my trip to Japan and spent there like a few weeks with my sister and everything, I definitely had to. I watched a few videos just talking about like, here's what not to do when you're in Japan. So going over like things like, certain words, certain things, blah blah blah. Most of it was just like certain things that you don't do in public. Like, apparently in Japan, it's considered rude to blow your nose out in public. You have to do that kind of like privately.
Or even eat on the street, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You can't really like eat out in publicly. You have to like find a place to sit down or somewhere.
Really street. Oni, you wanted to interject again?
Yeah, I was going to say that happens in pretty much every language that you learn. That there are always words that can be translated into different things depending on the context. So sometimes you want to say something nice by using a word, but without the context, it may sound or it may translate to a completely different thing.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not really unique from English. It's just a general thing that happens when you're learning something.
Yeah, it's kind of like how in the UK there's like these new slang words that the younger generation are coming out, because I sometimes hear younger Brit kids saying bear, meaning something that's good or something that's a lot. And I was like, why are you always talking about bears? I mean, are they bears or something? But like if something that's good, it's like it's bear good, or if there's a lot of things, like there's a bear things there or something.
I had no idea that UK one could make up their own slangs and whatnot. I thought it was just like whatever's on the internet, like kids will just copy whatever popular slang's going on.
Yeah, I don't know how that word was coined in the first place, to be honest.
I guess. But yeah, the point you were trying to make is that in Japan it's even worse. So not only a generalization of language, but more like genuinely acting like it's a big theater on television. So there's like a really disconnect between adventures on television rather than people in real life.
Indeed, like try to watch Japanese TV shows, not anime, just Japanese TV shows in general, and you will notice that the people are always acting a little bit off, as if I don't know. They always give me the impression that they are about to jump at me and kill me, for example. Yeah, because they look really creepy, but apparently that's perfectly normal for a host of TV shows in Japan. So it's just something that they find funny and entertaining. But for us Westerners, it sounds a little bit, odd, as if kind of when you go to a village in the United States and there is like a cult. That's the kind of impression it gives me every time I watch Japanese television.
Oh, wow. So you're saying that if we nerds go to Japan and act like anime characters, it's the same as if you go to England and act like you're a Shakespearean character? Like,
Indeed.
So it would be very fake and over the top.
Yeah, actually, never, ever go to Japan and act like an anime character. That's probably the worst.
The worst thing you can do.
Notice, everybody will notice that you are an otaku, and probably they are not going to be nice with you, like at any place. So no. Even some of the words that you may learn from anime, like, I know some words from anime, do not use them because that's very disrespectful there.
Oh, boy.
That's interesting, yeah. Like, I can understand the whole weebos thing, but trying to, like, or trying to imitate Japanese. Like, yeah, it's interesting. I know I didn't really do that when I went to Japan. We mostly just had my sister and brother-in-law, who were more of an expert on it, to be our translators. So I think the most we just had to learn was just saying hi, konnichiwa, which is the standard hi. There's another different hi, but that's just for answering the phone. So there's that, and then the whole hi.
It depends on the hour. It depends on the hour which one you're supposed to use.
Oh yeah. And then the other thing we mostly just learned was the whole saying thank you in Japanese and doing the little bow. Ohayo gozaimasu. I think that's how you say it.
Give or take.
Hmm.
Accents are kind of funny always.
Always,
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, they don't always translate when you're not familiar with them.
Ah, yes.
Because in anime, they might make a big deal that someone is from Osaka or something. That doesn't tell us anything. Okay, they're from a different city. Who cares?
Yeah, then again, you've had a few guests before on Dissected where it kind of took me a while to figure out what kind of accent. Like, I think one is Dracol. I think that's the guy that had the most accent out of all your guests for this.
Oh, yes, the Shadow fan. Yes.
He's from
Yeah,
the
the
Czech
Czech
Republic.
Right?
He's from the Czech Republic, so there you go.
I kept thinking it was Portuguese. Like, no, it's Czech. No.
Yeah,
We have our accents really mixed up right here, right?
Sorry, what you say? Can you repeat that? We have a lot of accents now.
That we have our accents really mixed up, right? Like a moment ago, you were saying that I sound like a Romanian person.
Oh right, yeah.
And,
Transylvania. And I sound like a
yes, and now we have a person from the Czech Republic that sounds Portuguese.
How wonderful! Even our
it's
accents.
kind of like in the UK. Like I sometimes have difficulties determining if that person's an accent is from either Scotland, Ireland, or Wales, or like what accent they got, because their accents are a little bit similar to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, indeed.
I mean, I can barely hear the difference between like Liverpool and Australian, but that's because I'm not very
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I'll let you know this. I'll let you know this. In order to get my certification, in order to be a translator, I needed to understand different accents from the UK. I was able to understand most of them, except Cockney.
Yes.
I have no idea what people from Cockney are saying.
Yeah, Gav, now you brought it. No, not me, Gav.
Like, what?
You'll have a hard time understanding Only Fools and Horses.
I also have trouble
Oh my
with
God.
this. I also have trouble understanding Scottish people, even though they speak English. But
There
they have
is
a very thick
one
accent.
UK comedy show that I had so much difficulty understanding called Rab C. Nesbitt. It's a very old show about in the 80s or 90s where this very fat Scottish bloke is just rambling on in his Scottish accent. I'm like, what the hell is he saying? He's going, what? How's it funny? How's it funny? This makes no sense. How's this one of the most iconic sitcoms of its time? Maybe up in Scotland, but in England, you can't hear jack shit.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever come across like any authentic Scottish talking or anything. It's just whatever cartoon character shows up being more Scottish, like the Scotsman from Samurai Jack or some other
Or the
characters.
Simpsons, yeah. No, that's not what they say.
Oh yeah, Groundskeeper Willie, yeah.
People real accents sound different. I mean, I was at the Disneyland Paris, or Euro Disneyland, where they have French people speaking English, and trust me, they don't sound like movie French people. Oh, sacre bleu. Like no,
Yeah,
they sound like gibberish when they talk English word with French accents.
Yeah, except for like Phantom Manor, because I know like in the recent update they decided to bring back the original Vincent Price recordings and mix them up with the French narration.
Okay.
I
mean, when Park, yes.
Sorry, can I interrupt? I mean, in hard to understand accents. If you ever seen the movie Hot Fuzz, there's this farmer guy who's like really hard to understand. He was like bumbling in a very thick West country accent, and I think one of them is like able to understand what he's saying, but he was like, that sort of thing.
All right, I love that movie, but I don't remember the farmer. Well, I do remember the farmer.
He was the guy who played Filch.
Oh, right, yeah.
From the Harry Potter films.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mostly remember him for that and William Hartnell in that Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yeah, by documentary.
Yeah,
That's
Bradley
awesome.
James.
Hot
Yeah.
Fuzz had a lot of great actors. Yeah, Timothy Dalton. But I think we're going a little bit off topic. So
Sorry about that.
Well, it's
just a
common
little
here on
bit.
this well, it's common here on this live stream. So
then again, our conversation doesn't really have a goal. We're just kind of talking. I mean, I don't get an opportunity to talk with a localization every now and then. But where were we? Where was I going?
I can't remember. I think we left
The
off
last
at
thing
like
that we said something about Kingdom Hearts and how it sounds off. But again, Kingdom Hearts sounds off even in Japanese because the characters are emoting, they are talking, but they are not moving. Like they are not really doing much. They are not doing anything. So I kind of feel Kingdom Hearts feels that way because the like they feel kind of like when you have like an old RPG, like from the NES or SNES era. That the characters are there in a place and they are talking, but at least in the Nintendo and Super Nintendo era, you can try to imagine the situation. Maybe they are talking, but in your head they are moving and expressing themselves. But Kingdom Hearts, you just have the two characters talking in an empty place without moving or doing anything. It gives me the illusion that they were making Kingdom Hearts with the mindset, the how they used to do RPGs on the Super Nintendo, but they never evolved beyond that, and it feels kind of weird.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I complain about that too in my Dissected for Final Fantasy DCD. I think that there's never really a setting or something. They're just always in a weird abstract location.
oh yeah, that old one. Yeah.
A very old one, yeah. Although the Super Nintendo, I have no problems with Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG. I love them. It's like their Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1 era of Square Enix is great. It's just as soon as they get to the PlayStation 2, that's when they completely lose me. I mean, I still like Kingdom Hearts, but in terms of story, I can't follow it anymore.
Yeah, but mostly I was referring to the cinematography, as in, there is no visual direction for the characters. As in, again, in the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, that's not a problem because your imagination can fill in the blanks between what is happening. If the characters, move around or they are just talking, at least you can imagine what they are doing. But in in newer consoles, that's a little bit of a problem because when you have two characters talking and not doing anything much, that kind of takes like a sore thumb. Like you can see it from everywhere.
Yeah, I read an interview for Kingdom Hearts 3 where they talked about talking with the Disney animators, and the Disney animators had to teach them a lot of things, like from the Toy Story Pixar guys. They really hammered on the fact that the characters never looked each other in the eye, so they actually had to. The animators from Kingdom Hearts had to learn that everyone actually looks at one another. So I guess that's one of those leftover from the Super Nintendo days. So I can kind of understand what you're saying, yeah. But I think but yeah, maybe Kingdom Hearts is not a good example. Maybe I take a very extreme example. But
Well, there are newer examples, and they feel kind of the same in some regards. I do not know if you have ever played Bravely Default, for example. Like the characters, they appear on screen, but they are not really moving. They just appear there and they talk, and it has a really nice voice acting. But no, the fact that the characters never emote or move from their place, it's kind of distracting.
yeah, but that game is like deliberately a callback to Nintendo DS and Super Nintendo RPGs, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Still, that feels kind of off coming from the 3DS when you have more advanced games and more advanced RPGs that's with characters that actually move around.
All right, fair enough. Although now we're talking more about animation. Although of course how it's drawn also works. In fact, I think that's very important with anime because, like I said before, they use very often stock phrases. So I guess a lot of their personality has to come through their face expressions, their acting, and the voice acting, of course. Because
Indeed. One thing I can add is that because many of the stories that we receive here in the West come from manga, one thing that I need to clarify is that manga is supposed to be a very cheap kind of comic. It's completely black and white, not use of many colors. The thing is, sometimes it's kind of difficult to convey what is happening in the drawings by just using black and white. So in many regards, what cartoonists do, what mangaka do, is that they literally say what is happening in the panels, so that they can convey the message a little bit more. So, for example, if you see a panel and you see a lots of lines and you're not sure what it says, there is always going to be a character saying, "Oh, it's raining," something like that. It makes the dialogue a little bit more stiff, because in real life nobody does that. Nobody goes outside like, "Oh, it's raining. Let me get my umbrella." You just do it, yeah. Which again, yeah, it's probably one of the origins of the stiffness of Japanese dialogues, that the characters have to say what they are doing in order to convey the idea better. Because if you read the panels without any context, sometimes it's very difficult to tell what's going on in each one of them.
Really? I thought the art sells most. Well, I mean, it depends on the artist, obviously. They're usually immensely well drawn and very technical. So I always thought it was more.
Yeah, they are very detailed sometimes.
I thought it was more just a stall for time. I mean, I remember the old Dragon Ball Z shows where they had to put a manga you can finish in 5 minutes into a 20-minute episode, so they have to stretch it out to insane levels. So then you have constantly characters explaining things or.
One trope I have seen in manga is like when during fights you have one person on the side describing every single thing that the person is doing in the fight, like what abilities they're using. I mean, if I was in a fight and see that, I wouldn't be describing what they're doing. I would just be watching.
Now I'm thinking more of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Again. Indeed, but again, if you have seen like action panels in manga, like if you have tried to read Dragon Ball in manga, it's kind of difficult to follow the action, because the characters are fighting or moving, but like there is no sense of movement in a comic. And so what happens is that you kind of need the context to know what is going on. And with more abstract kind of manga, like for example, there is this one anime about chefs in a restaurant, that you kind of need the context of what's going on, because there is like lots of technicisms that you as a reader, as a normal reader, you don't really know. So that's another point of because of that there has to be like a comment or something in order to give you context of what's happening.
Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, it's a trope that I kind of dislike myself. There has to be always a character saying exactly what's going on, even if the characters are moving at the speed of sound.
It's even worse when some characters only just explain things. Like, again, when you have a show with a main character and his friends, that his friends literally do nothing but just explain things. Like with Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something, his friends are just always on the sideline. Oh, he's not using this card. He's not doing this thing.
Oh, if you hate that, you should probably watch Baki. I do not know if you have seen it. It's on Netflix. Yeah. There are basically, it's an anime about both guys punching each other in the face. Yeah. And there is always a guy, there is always a person. It can be a random person. Sometimes it's a policeman, sometimes it's a little kid, sometimes it's somebody from the public, but there is always someone explaining everything in detail. And that makes me really anxious sometimes when I am watching it, because I mean, it's not so fast, and it's just both guys fighting each other, and they have like a narrator, so they could use the narrator. They don't really need another person. So now we have 2 or 3 narrators per fight.
It would be funny if we had 20 narrators all fighting each other and disagreeing with one another. Oh, he's punching him. No, he was. Yeah. Sounds fun.
Yeah, and there is not a lot to narrate either, because it's like, okay, he punched him in the face, and now he's kicking him in the nuts, and
yeah,
like, what else do you need to explain?
But it's always awkward to explain action scenes with words anyway. That's why I always found novels about action weird. Like, I used to have like a couple Indiana Jones novels. And it's like, man, these action scenes, I love them in movies, but they just don't work in novels at all, because it's just so weird. Even in my own scripts, when I make a parody, I never describe action scenes, because it just sounds weird and awkward, and I feel dirty when I write them, because it sounds so stiff. Because Luke can probably tell, whenever Luke reads one of my scripts, it's almost never a description of action scenes. It's just like, oh, this character gets punched. and then the specifics I'll figure out during animating. It's just something so.
Yeah, and that's my gripe with lots of manga and also American comics. That, for example, in manga, um, characters always have to scream what action they are doing, what technique, what secret technique they are doing. But in American comics, I noticed that the characters always have to make a joke or a pun when they are, doing something during an action scene. Like they cannot be quiet for whatever reason.
Oh yeah, that's very noticeable with Sonic X. Yeah, where they replace a lot of the Japanese language with puns. They love puns.
Yeah.
It's like
It's just one of those cases like, yeah, just let the actions speak for themselves sometimes.
Yeah, right now I have been trying to read the Archie Sonic comics. I think I am in the issue 60 something, 68, I believe. I don't know.
Same
There is
boat,
like
same boat,
a there is a tiny Morgan Freeman. I do not know if you know it.
Oh yeah,
Nate,
yeah, that's
Nate Morgan.
yeah, Nat Morgan, who yes, he really is based off of Morgan Freeman. So it's
I
Morgan
just
Freeman,
told-
but he's short.
Well, I cannot really say anything about shortness. I am short myself.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry. That's part of my name. I am actually 153 centimeters. So yeah. The thing is, I have been there, and my God, I every single action scene has to have somebody making a pun or somebody making like a funny comment about it. Nobody can just simply punch somebody in the face and not say anything. Everybody has to have something to say.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's been a while since I've read the issues with Nat Morgan in there, but I can imagine Sonic doing that because he's kind of the quipster character, but for like the other characters, not really. So I'll have to check that out again just to refresh my memory.
Yeah, I was never been a fan of puns. Well, unless they do them literally, like in Naked Gun movies, and I love it. But when it's just like jokes the characters make, it always cringe. Oh well. Anyway, another thing I wanted to talk about. Speaking of Kingdom Hearts and friends and all that, friendship. Because we talked about it before when we talked about IDW, right? Where Sonic's friends actually get to do something and they all work together. Well, in Japanese stories, very often they have like the moral of the importance of friendship, except they still have the main character do everything, and the main character, the friends only are in supporting roles. And
Yeah, that's definitely evidenced in Sonic Forces.
Absolutely, but I think there's even a Japanese an actual philosophy behind that. There's like a logic behind it. Can you explain it? Do you know what I'm talking
There
about?
is a logic, yes, but it's not really about like a philosophy. It's more like how to say it. In order to do something, like in this case, an anime or a manga, there are always going to be some things that you can and you cannot do. Yeah. So, for example, yes, most of the time you're going to see that friendship is very important when it comes to moral. Yes, like in you're supposed to have a sense of unity, as in you shouldn't do things by yourself. You are part of a unity, so you should have like 20 people helping you. Now the problem is that Japanese also have this thing that they consider something very unfair if you have like 20 people against one, regardless of how powerful that one person might be. So what results is that we have this very awkward thing that happens when, yes, the main character has lots of friends, but the main character is going to face alone the bad guy at the end because it's more honorable in that regard. So it feels kind of off, that like, yeah, friendship is the main moral for this, and I arrived to this point thanks to my friends, but now I am going to go alone because this is the more honorable thing to do.
Well, that's one thing, but it's funnier when the character is acting alone and still preaching about friendship. I mean, I remember, especially Final Fantasy Dissidia, that was one of my main things of mockery, where especially the guy representing the first Final Fantasy game, like a Warrior of Light or something, he's like constantly preaching about friendship. Yet he's the only main character who never ever actually interacts with anyone. He's like the most unlike character to ever have friends at all. Like he's this preachy, annoying, stoic guy, and it just made me think. I guess he means something different. Like it isn't really about friendship of being with others, but more the fact that because you're connected to others, that gives yourself more motivation to fight or something like that.
Indeed, it might work that way. I mean, motivation. How to say it? Um, well, I guess it's not really motivation. What I want to say. It's just that a character with more friends is supposed to have something to care for. As in, how to explain it? In Japan, uh, ah, let me find my words. In Japan, it's very common that people kind of feel like they have to do things by themselves, like all the time. But this causes this problem that many Japanese people, as you know, commit suicide because the their cultural challenges are too many to count. So many people prefer to abandon several things. They abandon friends, they abandon loved ones, they abandon family. So what happens is that they prefer to end with their lives, sadly. Uh, so I guess that's one point as to why they like to give friendship as a moral. The other thing is that a person that doesn't really have anything to care for in their lives, well, they are not really going to feel motivated to do anything else. In order to do something with your life, you need to have something to protect. As in, they feel that if you have something that you care for, that you have something to protect, you feel more inclined to actually move your life around. This is why in several anime they have this expression like, oh, I will protect everybody. Yes, kind of like that. As in, now I have friends. I didn't used to care, but now I care because I have friends and I will protect them, and so they become stronger as a result.
I find it fascinating. It's always about friendship because we in the West also have that, but we focus it more on family. It's more like, oh, you have to get a wife and your own kid, and that's what gives you your protective nature. Well, in Japan, it's much more to friends rather than direct family. I mean,
It kind of depends, I suppose. Again, going back to Dragon Ball, for example, Goku kind of seems to be a character that always protects his family, and though he's not really a good family man either, I suppose he sees more Chi-Chi as a friend as well, more like
a nagging housewife that beats him into submission. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but that's pretty much a different focus, I guess. It depends on the person writing the story, but yeah, for the most part, that's the explanation. That when a character has something that they want to protect, they instantly become stronger, and they won't allow anybody to destroy that happiness that they have gotten by those people. Again, you can see several anime in which they are like, oh, I have to protect my friends, or I have to do this for my friends, or I will protect you, and nothing is going to happen to you. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Although, yeah, I just found it interesting that I barely know any anime that will ever have like a family focus. There's no Simpsons or Family Guy esque version of anime. I guess because it's always focused on young people rather than adults, so maybe that's why it has to do with it.
Yeah, it's like how you got a hero like got their team and then they treat them like they're their real family or something, like Luffy's crew or something.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, One Piece. Yeah.
I mean, I guess they're kind of family, but the actual family they never care about.
Yes.
Well, maybe a brother or one cool action brother somewhere, but that's about it.
Yeah, because you got like Luffy's adopted brother called Ace.
Ace. Yeah.
And also his other brother, Sabo, as well, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's been years since I've seen One Piece, so I can't say much. It's
So
just
I
like,
didn't read the manga.
Oh, the manga. I've only seen the anime. I can't remember which one. I just know, like, oh yeah, there's Luffy, the samurai guy, and the lady pirate, and the guy with the slingshot, and Chopper, and it's been too long.
Yeah, that's why I
To be
only
fair-
myself to the movies.
Yeah, to be fair, there are a million characters in One Piece, and it's very difficult to keep track of every single one of them, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, but like, isn't One Piece just like one of those animes that just like never ends? Kind of like Dragon Ball or that one detective show that Roger likes a lot.
Detective Conan, yeah.
Yeah, Detective Conan. That's it.
As far as I believe, he's still a kid, isn't he?
But Conan, yeah. Well, I mean, he looks like a kid, but he's actually a teenager.
Huh.
Isn't like everything supposed to happen in the span of 1 year?
Well, I mean, it's about he can't age too much because he used to be a 70-year-old kid, but because of magic medicine, he turned into a 7-year-old. But they cannot know he's the same guy, so the show has to take place before he grows up to be that teenager. So it really has to take place in a very short time span, which means all the 5,000 episodes that show all has to take place in 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Considering almost every episode is about a murder case, a different one. It means like every single day the guy runs into a new murder. Poor guy. But yeah, if we want to talk about Detective Conan, I think we better introduce it properly.
Yeah, we finally get to hear Roger geeking out over Detective Conan.
I really want to save it for a separate video because there's so much to say about this show. This show is so
Yeah,
crazy
you
in a lot of
probably
ways.
should. You probably should. In the emails, we have talked a little bit about the Detective Conan, and yeah, you have pretty much a lot to say about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I remember him rambling on a bit about that in one of his older Q&A videos. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, that's the one long anime I fell in love with. And also, it's the reason why I refuse to watch other long shows, because it's so weird to be like captive by a show that you know is super stupid, but you can't stop watching because you're just too much into it. So it's like, you know it's stupid, but you just keep watching it anyway. It's like, I've too much invested now. I have to keep going. I guess it's the same as the Sonic series. No matter how terrible it gets, we just keep coming back for more.
Can't stop. It is impossible to stop. I need to continue.
Exactly. What was it called again? The Stockholm Syndrome or something?
Kind of. I cannot really say anything about it. I mean, I am Mexican, so I am a Dragon Ball fan because, of course, I have to. I have to be, I guess. So yeah, that show. The thing with Dragon Ball is that it finished, but they decided to continue it later. So I am happy because of it, but it feels kind of weird because now I have watched One Piece and I am in episode 700, and it doesn't feel like it's never going to end, and I don't feel comfortable anymore.
Yeah, that's the problem with some anime. It just never ends. Oh well.
Yeah.
I guess that's the problem when they become too successful. That's one of the most frustrating things about Detective Conan. Yeah, it's clearly built around a central story that should end at some point, but it's clear they have very little interest in focusing on it. It's very episodic now. So I don't want to hear any Naruto fans ever complain about filler episodes, because Detective Conan is non-stop filler, pretty much.
That Naruto. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll better save up Detective Conan for its own video. It's too big to waste now. Yeah, is there anything else I wanted to bring up? Yeah.
Well, I guess one
Yes?
question I can think of is like in terms of like style, like you know how I guess in one way, like we kind of talked about this a couple of videos ago, but with how certain medias have become like very self-aware with like the way they're written, you know, always like, oh yeah, this is a TV show, oh we're just cartoon, blah blah blah. So it just kind of makes me wonder, like, how does that translate over that to Japan, or does Japan do that like commonly as it does in the U.S.? Because I know I pointed this out in one of the Sonic X episodes where Sonic grabs like a baseball out of the field, and he's like, oh, why do we have to follow the rules? This is a cartoon after all. And yet in the English dub, it was changed to just like, oh, this is ridiculous. So I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder if Japan has that kind of same meta logic, or if it's like more separate compared to, or at least how common it is in the US.
Sonic X has a lot of that, man. I mean, the episode we're going to talk about next time had Sonic literally grab a sign that said, "Hey, kids, don't do this." So it really broke the fourth
yeah, that
wall.
was actually one of my favorite bits. Yeah, Chris holds up a sign, "Good kids don't try this at home," and Sonic holds up a sign saying, "Does this mean I'm not a good kid?"
Yeah, it's like
In the
Sonic
case of
actually
Sonic-
did that. Sorry, just saying that Sonic actually did it in one of the episodes when he was like on a car and he's telling the oldest kids don't do this at home or something.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
too, indeed. Yeah,
In the
only
case of Sonic, I think it's because the Japanese kind of see him as a parody of Looney Tune cartoons. So they kind of see, Sonic is kind of like their Bugs Bunny or their Daffy Duck, that kind of stuff.
I wish it was more like that, because at least Looney Tunes are much more physical, but they always use only talk jokes. It's more like the Flintstones, if anything.
Well, I guess we get to get some of that, or at least more physical slapstick stuff with the Sonic Dash and Spin manga.
Now, in order to answer your question, you know how in English they have this expression, breaking the fourth wall, as in when you're talking directly to the people, or when you do something related to that. The Japanese kind of have it, but I prefer to call it the 3.5 wall, because they don't really do that like in the same way. As in, when they break the fourth wall, normally the characters, talk directly to the camera, but it is not like the characters know that they are in a cartoon. It's mostly that they are thinking about something and they just emote towards it. Yes, as in, the character says something like, "Oh, please don't do this." It's like that's just not directly talking to the public, but kind of like talking to an invisible person that they have there. So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but they do have it. They do so. Again, if you read the manga of Dragon Ball, the first one, not Dragon Ball Z, um, you will notice that Goku also sometimes breaks the fourth wall by getting things, punching things out of the panels, for example, or just talking to the narrator or that kind of stuff.
That's interesting.
I love more of that stuff. That's the kind of four-wall jokes I like, when it's more like physical, or actually them interacting with the world rather than just literally saying, "Hey, I'm a character in a cartoon." I like it when it's just physical, but they're not really aware of that. So I guess, but yeah, the problem I have usually with Japanese four-wall jokes is they're kind of too blatant or boring about it. They usually
Yeah,
just like,
because
"Oh,
normally
this is kind of."
they only have like a character, say whatever they are about to say, or say whatever they are about to do. Like normally there is not like a lot of honestly there is not like a lot of humor to be found in comedic anime, because the comedy is lost in culture, completely lost in translation as well.
Of course, very hard to translate. Anyway, speaking of translation, we're not really talking much about your job as localization, so I want to bring up something more specific, because there's something I was wondering. In a lot of anime, because they always love focusing on smaller, for younger characters, kids, and in Japan you have a lot of focus on prefixes, like adding san or senpai or chan to indicate each other's relation with one another. So basically, a character would be constantly reminding the other what their relation is. Like constantly, like, "Hey, Alice, my sister, Alice, sister," or "Hey, Bob, friend." Like they constantly remind each other of each other's roles they have. Like, how do you translate that to make it more comfortable for us? Because we never do that. We never remind each other of each other's roles in society. But in Japan, it's very big all the time.
Yeah, that's oh, sorry about that. I think you can listen to my dog. I have no idea what happened here. Yeah, that's not really a problem depending on the anime. Depending, of course, if the relationship between two characters is actually, um, useful for the story. Yeah. So, for example, if I want to make it, more, how to say it, normal for people, I just avoid using them because they do not really work in a context. As in, for example, you don't call your sister, "Hey, come, sister." You just talk to them by their name. So when it comes to making dialogue, or for example, to make you know the subtitles, sometimes I avoid them if they are completely unnecessary. But I have gotten into a little bit of flag because of it, because otakus really like their their words to stay the same in the subtitles. Um, but no, those words I can avoid them in certain cases. Otherwise, if they are super important, that becomes a challenge. But for the most part, you can simply change them
Yeah,
and find an equivalent in the target language.
yeah. But sometimes there's like actual jokes about it, or sorry, you talking? Did someone talk?
No, no, I didn't say anything.
Okay, sorry. 'Cause I remember in Detective Conan, for example, that one girl was very offended that another friend, never referred to her, or like referred to her in the correct way, and they thought they had a fallout because of that. And because probably in Japanese you were supposed to call her Chan or something, like as an indication of your friends, but she never did. So then the whole drama of the episode is through how the kids are referring to one another. Well, in the West, kids don't really refer to one another with a specific name. So do you then?
Yeah, that's one example in which sometimes taking away those ways of calling each other kind of backfires. Which is why most of the time I just ask them to give me all the material available in order to know beforehand what changes I can do and what changes I shouldn't do. I remember the first time I had this thing in which I don't remember the anime, but there was a character that sorry about that. There was a character that got very angry at a girl because the girl decided to call him Chan, and he was like, "I am not Chan. What are you talking about?" As in, because Chan is supposed to be for little children or for a person that is your beloved. But in this case, there was no connection between the two, so this guy was very angry. So that's one of the things that I can change to a nickname, for example, as in. Let's say that if your character's name is called John, somebody comes and calls him Johnny, and he can get a little bit angry because of it. I mean, it gets lost in translation, but for the most part, I never have this problem because when it depends on the company or the person that I am working for. They tell me what changes I can do and what I shouldn't do. So yeah, that's the one thing that I can tell you about it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense to use nicknames. I mean, didn't the Yakuza games have something like that where Majima always refers to Kiryu as Kiryu-chan, which I guess in English version, I don't remember exactly what they did, but then he kind of has like a cute nickname for him. I guess that's the best solution for that. But yeah, that's one of those things that's very hard to translate, I'm sure. Yeah.
Honestly, the hardest one for me is senpai because my God, the Japanese girls with their senpais, they like they constantly talk about their senpais as if they were like God sometimes, and it's very difficult for me to translate that word because senpai it literally translates to the one before me, as in the one person that is 1 year older than you, or in a job or in a school. So
Like a
we don't
senior.
have like yeah, we don't have that relationship in the West. So you cannot be like, oh, that is my colleague that is 1 year older than I, or that is my classmate that is 1 year older than I. So it's very awkward whenever I need to use that word. Uh, if I can, I try to use the normal name, but honestly, the easiest thing to do for me is just leave that word there because everybody is going to understand what a senpai is supposed to be. And at this point, I think it has become a little bit of a meme.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's like, yeah, senpai 1 year older than me. Like, well, I'm just glad it's 1 year older and not, something like 12 or 20 years older. Because otherwise, I would have put a whole different meaning to that word.
Yeah, because that just means you're in love with the person because they have a slightly higher level than you. So in an office job, it would just be your manager or something. Oh, my manager. For us, it's just some boring guy we don't care about. Oh, he's
Oh
my
yeah,
manager. Oh, I'm so in love with my manager.
I am in love with Greg Senpai, I guess.
Or my class monitor or something like the student in class who does all the chores. Like that's suddenly some sort of godhood. Oh, he's the one who cleans the blackboard. Ah.
Oh
The
yeah, because
janitor
they got a
senpai.
thing about like having your senpai notice you or something.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that was the whole meme. Yeah, notice me, senpai. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have also seen that sometimes girls fall in love with the school president, which makes a little bit more sense. It's like, oh, he's a school president. He's so talented. It's like, okay, I get it. But when it comes to the senpai, that's too complicated to understand. And I wish that word didn't exist because honestly, it has given me so much trouble trying to find a way to avoid it. Mostly, in subtitles, it is pretty much impossible to do so. Yes, in subtitles, you need to have that. But when it comes to dialogue for dubbing, that changes matters because, in English, you don't use those words. So that actually makes it more difficult to find like an equivalent or a word that actually works to refer to the person that you are in love with, but also happens to be 1 year older than you in the school. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I find Detective Conan sometimes so funny to bring up as localization, because that show has never really been brought to other languages, and probably because they have a lot of stuff like this. Like when I read a fan translation, there's always these huge blocks of text explaining all these tiny little culture things. Like it's like nearly
Oh,
impossible to just smoothly translate it. It's like so many specific things going on.
right now I have been working in a retranslation of Rurouni Kenshin, I think they call it in here. Yes.
Okay.
Um, and I I love the story, but I hate that I feel as if I was in history class because every 5 or 6 pages there has to be like a wall of text explaining the Meiji era and the reorganization of Japan and the main historical characters, and like, oh, come on, please, just let me get to the point of the story. But it's necessary to understand some of the context because there are lots of historical figures that are mentioned by name, and it's like, oh boy, well, I guess I have to study the life of this guy. I wasn't interested, but now I have to.
Yeah, that's a challenge. And of course, another challenge is that because of the kanji, very often Japanese words have a lot of extra meaning stacked into each other. I was recently checking
Yeah,
up on Final Fantasy X, for example, just for a random trivia, and I noticed like the main villain or the monster they're fighting is called Sin, like based on the English word, but in Japanese it also kind of sounds like death, but it also kind of sounds like faith, and you have all these extra meanings on top of each other. So when a Japanese sees that word Sin, they instantly think of religion, they instantly think of death, they instantly think of like a million things at the same time, and you just can't translate that in English, or you have to call the villain like Deadly Sin to kind of get the same effect, but then it's a little too over the top. Like it's a little,
it
Sin is a
is.
nice punchy name.
Well, that is because, language is not completely logical. Yes, obviously you have your words referring to, normal stuff like objects and verbs and actions, but you also have, rhetorical figures, you have idioms, you have abstract ideas. So when it comes to kanji, you need to understand that because they are based basically on drawings, a drawing sometimes convey a word, but also it conveys a message. For example, if I show you the picture of a brain, you can say, okay, that's a brain. But if you put it next to an explosion, you can be like, oh, that's mind blown. So you change the word to mind, which is kind of different. It's more like the spirit that lives inside your head. Or, for example, if I show you a picture of a hand directing towards you, and then next to a brain, you can interpret it as, okay, you are intelligent. So the word intelligent now changed to that. So, yeah, pretty much when you see a drawing, that drawing can convey different meanings depending on the context in which you use it. And Japanese sometimes play around with these words because you can pretty much see all the meanings at the same time, and it is amazing and also a nightmare to translate. I can give you an example about that. I do not know if you have checked the game Okami. Have
Yeah,
you
I
checked
know
it?
that one. The wolf game, right, from Capcom. You draw
Yes.
after draw.
So
Yeah.
the game is called Okami in Japanese, and it's written only with the kanji of Okami. But Okami means wolf, so that's okay. But when you take away the two syllables, sorry, not the syllables, the two sounds from it, it can also sound like Okami, which means great god, referring, of course, to Amaterasu. It can also mean sun god, as in the god of the sun, referring again, once again, to Amaterasu, for example. Or it can also mean big paper, as in the big paper that you use in order to attack enemies in the game. So when you see the name Okami just in Japanese, you understand the three different meanings, well, the four different meanings at the same time. You get that it's a game about a wolf, which is a great god, is the sun god, it represents Amaterasu, and it also attacks enemies with a big paper. And that's impossible to translate to English or to any other language. It's pretty much impossible to do that unless you want to give like a really, really, really big title to the game. But then it's a kind of goes against the idea of a very simple name.
God Wolf that draws stuff. The game. Yes, it rolls off the tongue. Yeah. Yeah, that must be a pain always to deal with all these stacked up extra symbolic meanings. Oh. But yeah,
Now,
Japan.
normally when Japanese people are talking, they don't do this, yes, unless it's a very simple pun. Is a very simple pun. That's not going to happen. But in written Japanese, that's a completely different story. It's it's kind of a nightmare to do that. And I guess that's why they didn't. They decided to not to translate the name. They just said, "Oh, whatever, just call it Okami." People are not going to buy this game anyway.
Yeah, sadly, it was a fun game. Legend of Zelda starring a wolf. I mean, did you think the nerds would be all over it? Oh well.
I have the DS version, the Okami Den. It's the best Zelda on the DS, honestly.
Well, that's not much saying. I hate the other two Zelda games, but yeah, I should check that one out.
Yeah, Luke's more of the Zelda expert than most of us here.
Yeah, pretty much. But I could check that game out if you say it's like Zelda.
Imagine it's kind of like a very tiny Ocarina of Time, but with fused with Goemon, with Gambare Goemon.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember my sister playing it back then. It does look interesting. I guess the only sort of Zelda game that I played is Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. I've usually described it as, well, it kind of plays like a 3D Zelda game, but with a more Egyptian theme to it, and there's a lot more stuff going on. But yeah, that's just me. I've only played, I played a little bit of Ocarina of Time and the original Legend of Zelda, which is, the NES Zelda is not a good game for newcomers to get into.
No.
Well, the thing is, the reason I like
not.
Zelda is not because of like the gameplay and the exploration, because I think it serves as like the ultimate fairy tale fantasy experience where you like battle dragons and rescue damsels in distress in lofty towers and that, and magic swords.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I grew up with like the stories of King Arthur and like reading about J.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and watching this show we used to have in UK called Nightmare, which is where you direct this kid through a maze, a dungeon maze, and avoiding traps and monsters and that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, from what I've seen from the Zelda games, they definitely have a lot of great visuals and atmosphere.
Yeah.
My wife brought up another example of a name being awkward. Her favorite manga series, The Way of the House Husband, which in the Japanese version only has one name. I can't pronounce it, but Goku Shufu Fudo.
Goku. I don't know.
I could try to read it if you show me a picture because no, I need to check the kanji. I have no idea if the kanji is kind of difficult to read because again that's another problem when it comes to kanji. Sometimes they decide to use like a very old kanji that I have no recollection of because it doesn't come in the dictionaries or just because they decided to use a very interesting paintbrush and it's just all over the place.
Fair enough. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the manga because I found it interesting in terms of localization. I mean, first of all, indeed, the name, the Way of the House Husband, is supposed to mean both, like because the manga is about an old yakuza, like a Japanese gangster who becomes a house husband and just now does just the laundry and the shopping. That's really where the comedy and the stories come from. So the title needs to convey both of those. Like, oh, it's about some epic yakuza hero, but he's just doing housework. But one thing I found interesting about I mean, if you haven't seen it, I guess I can't really talk much about it. But the series,
I have a friend that decided to watch it, and he told me that the animation is interesting. I have no idea what he's referring to.
Oh yeah, the animation is kind of weird because it does have an anime kind of, but all they do is really. I mean, it's not really an anime. It's just like they redraw the manga panels and occasionally add a little bit of movement to it. But it's very stiff animation, very cheap. It's like
that sounds very cheap indeed.
Yeah, so it's not
I am
fully
going to
animated.
try to do that later.
So it kind of feels more like just a moving manga, really, with just a manga with voiceovers and coloring in it. And only in very extreme circumstances, someone's walking, they might have like a little bit more complicated animation. But for the most part, it's just a panel.
Yeah, I am checking the name of this what is it, an anime series, I guess. It's also a manga, I guess. It's called Goku Shufudo, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I can tell you this. Yes, the name is kind of difficult to understand because it's kind of like a pun between the way of the Yakuza, as in, how a Yakuza's life needs to be in order to become and be a Yakuza on your life. But also at the end we have a little bit of a pun of the housewife. So it is kind of like saying the way of the yakuza, but also the way of the housewife. So my guess is that um, the pun doesn't really work in English. Yeah.
No, that's why it has a longer name. Oh well, but yeah, I think that's definitely a show that for a series that kind of is a little bit hurt by localization because it depends a lot on specific text. I mean, one joke the manga loves is that I mean the yakuza guy is basically talking about doing a simple task, a simple chore, like I'm just going to the store to buy because there's like a special discount, but everyone always hears it like he's saying like a gangster thing, like I'm going there for a hit, I'm gonna murder something, and I think it probably works better in Japanese because probably those ways of talking are closer to one another because the English version really almost has to stretch the language to kind of make to make it more sense because he always talks like a little overkill. But yeah,
Kind of. I can try to explain that. You see, here in the West, we have different accents, but your accent depends mostly on the place that you live. Yes. For example, if we're talking about American English, you have people from Texas and the accent from people from California, for example. But again, we don't play with the accents. We only use them in order to describe where a person lives. In Japanese, yes, they do have different accents depending on the place where they live, but they also have different ways of talking depending of the kind of character that you want to project to other people, the kind of way that you want people to see you. That's why very cute girls have a certain way of talking. That's why in this case yakuzas have also a way of talking, because let's be honest for a moment, Japanese are very cute when they talk. Yes. And when they want to be like when they want to sound menacing, in many cases they fail. So they have developed their own way of sounding menacing, and sometimes it's very difficult to change the way in which you speak. So my guess is that this character probably says things with a certain accent that is understood in Japan as something bad from a criminal, because that's how they are supposed to talk all the time.
probably yeah. And then the English translation kind of has to exaggerate it, so he always kind of thought, I'm gonna have a hit. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it still works and it's still funny, but it feels a little bit forced sometimes. Yeah, so I guess it must be
yeah,
very
that's the
difficult to
problem
translate.
that's the problem with manga that is very cultural. Like there are manga with Japanese elements, but they are not too Japanese. As in, you can read Berserk, and you are never going to notice that it was written by a Japanese person, except for Puck. But Puck, nobody likes Puck. Um, but there are other manga that is very cultural, as in super cultural. That unless you understand everything about the culture of Japan, you are never going to get them. And when they are supposed to be comical, well, that's a double thing. That you are not going to get the jokes because they are based entirely on their culture.
Yeah, always challenging.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is why I avoid comedic anime. For the most part, the jokes don't really hit unless you are like really, really, really into Japanese anime, like being an otaku, I guess. Most of the jokes are not going to get there. You are not going to understand them, and you will notice that other people laugh if you are with friends, for example.
Yeah.
But you are not going to get the jokes, and that will make you a little bit feeling like an idiot, as if you were not getting the joke of anything. But again, it's not really because it's not funny. It's just you don't get the joke, and it's just a cultural thing, I guess.
Still, the Japanese can be very funny, especially when they do slapstick. I mean, I absolutely love the original Dragon Ball when it was still more comedic. I absolutely love Axel Saga. Doctor Slump is also great. There's plenty of
Oh,
Full Metal
slap,
Panic is great. It's like they
Oh,
can
the
do great
slapstick
comedy.
is amazing.
Yeah, Bobo,
Slapstick
yeah.
is amazing, but just because they exaggerate everything to the point in which it just becomes like a very crazy cartoon. But when it comes to actual jokes, like telling something, like in something that they have to say, for the most part, it just doesn't never hit the mark.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem with translation, I guess. Yeah,
Although, if you want like really comical anime, I guess I could tell you a few. There is this one that I watched back in the day that just had me rolling on the ground, just laughing. It's called oh boy, Janguru White Sumo Hare no Chigu. I suppose I could write it down in the chat later for you to check. Um, it's about a boy that lives in a jungle, and one day he meets a little girl, and then the little girl just makes his life completely crazy, and that's horrible for him.
of course. Oh, classic. And then they fall in love.
I do not know if they fall in love because I haven't finished checking it. Um, Nachi, ooh, there you go. It's on the chat right now. Um, Again, I don't really know if they fall in love, but they kind of go into that direction. But it is a very funny anime to watch, just because it goes completely nuts with the abilities of the girl, and nobody seems to care that there are things happening in the jungle. Just amazing in many regards.
Art
So
style
would
kind
you
of remind.
say it's like the anime equivalent of George of the Jungle?
But in reverse,
Ah.
as in instead of a normal person finding a boy in the jungle, it's a boy in the jungle that finds a person from the city.
Ah.
Drawing style kind of
But
reminds me of Shin-Chan for some reason. That's a weird.
oh boy, I hate that cartoon. I hate Shin-chan. Please no.
Okay, I will not bring it up. I didn't like it that
Yeah,
much either.
that's my nightmare. Yeah, and it's very slapsticky, so I guess the 80% of the watchers will probably, find the comedic stuff, actually comedic. But yeah, it's one of the funniest anime that I have watched just because of the pure randomness of some of the episodes.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, they can be very funny, absolutely, anime. But yeah, when it's more cultural or talking, more sitcomish, then it's a bit harder to sell, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there anything others I want to say? Not specifically about
Yeah, that's
localization.
one. If you want another one, there is always Bakato Test. I like that one as well. It's about high school boys going to school and falling in love, but
You just described every single anime ever.
Yes,
Anime
we
yeah,
all
boy
yeah,
in
yeah,
do.
but
school who falls in love. Yes,
yeah.
that
But the
one
thing is,
anime.
like the whole point of these characters is that they are in the worst classroom of the school, and because they are in the worst classroom of the school, they are treated like shit by everybody else. So they create their own way to try to escalate in the school to become better. But the problem is that they are a bunch of idiots, and especially they have the most stupid person in their classroom, and they are trying to make him try to move on with them, and it's impossible for them. Also, the girls are kind of like very sadistic in some regards, so they just do whatever they can. And there is this one character that makes me laugh a lot, but I cannot explain him. You need to watch him or her. I have no idea what he is supposed to be, or she.
Or maybe it's a knit.
Who knows?
Actually, it's a special. He's Hideyoshi. He has his own bathroom in the school because the school board couldn't decide if he should be in the boys' bathroom or the girls' bathroom. So he has his own bathroom.
Huh.
Yeah, and also his own hotel room, and also his own how to say it. Pretty much everything every single rule don't apply to that guy because nobody knows what he's supposed to be.
Sounds confusing, but yeah, maybe it makes more sense when I watch it. But all right, I'll look it up. I myself put up some
Yeah.
Puni Puni Pomi, one of my favorite anime comedies. Stole quite a few jokes from them. Oh, I'm so naughty.
Would you say those are easy to understand by other people? What I mean is that, again, most comedic anime is kind of difficult to understand because it's very cultural.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
things happen, but they never go into like a direction. Like, at least the funny faces are kind of something that you can laugh at, but the joke is always going to get lost. So again, I am not really sure if I can recommend comedic anime to most people.
Fair enough. Then again, some people just love funny face expressions. It can help a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, to avoid just being just a list of anime. Does anyone have anything else to ask to a localizer or expert of Japanese?
Well, I know in one of the comments someone asked a certain question. It's from a guy called Ablava. I'm extremely early at studying Japanese, but don't you just put an O to making something honorable, like your honorable something, or just to put respect in something, like Tosin or Toast, whatever it's spelled. That like both mean father.
Oh, like Oto-san, Oka-san, that kind of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. I think that's what he was going with.
Yeah, but again, it depends on the context. Yes, it depends on the kanji. Many kanji actually have the same pronunciation. That's why they like to play so much with the sounds. What was mentioning, for example, the word kami, many people recognize it as God, but kami can also mean, without context, just with the sound, can also mean hair, or it can also mean paper. So that's the thing. When it comes to O, again, it depends on the kanji. So it could be like big, or it could be respectable, or it could be, gigantic. It depends on the context and what kanji you are actually reading. It's, again, kind of difficult to guess by just listening, but most of the time you can get the meaning by context. It's actually easier when you are reading it because you actually have the kanji right there that you can simply look up. But when someone is talking and I don't know, maybe you are not part of the conversation, it's very easy to get lost to know what they are talking about. Which is why I guess in many Japanese anime they like to make jokes out of disagreements or misunderstandings. Like somebody heard something that somebody else said, but misunderstood the meaning of the word, so it becomes something completely different. That kind of stuff.
Must be confusing. Yeah, my wife studied a little bit of Japanese, and she was always making statements about that, where two words resembled each other too much. Oh, well, the importance of context.
Honestly, German was a little bit more difficult for me.
Oh boy. Well, my language is actually very close to German, so never learned Dutch either then. Way and easy. Oh well, languages, always fun.
Mm-hmm.
But
They are super fun and super useful as well, but not everybody is into the idea of learning another language. I just did it because most of the media that comes to my country is in English, at least when it came to video games. So if you want to save the princess, you need to learn English.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Mexico doesn't have very strong its own pop culture, and neither does Netherlands. So we're also always dependent on others. So I guess both our cultures are doomed to learn a lot of other languages. But Lucky Luke and Lucky Melting Man, Lucky Luke. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Yeah, not to be confused with the other Lucky Luke.
I sometimes get called that.
Exactly. Like, you can stay your own language.
Yeah, Lucky Luke. That's one of those franchises that's always like mystifies me. Like, oh, it looks interesting, but it's one of those franchises that's more popular in Europe. Like, my main exposure to that was just catching an English dub of one of the films they did. I think it was called Go West. That was my only main exposure to Lucky Luke.
Yeah,
It
I
is
think
one
I
of the
did read
best
the
things.
comics. I think
Oh
I've
yeah,
got
it has
one
really a
of
lot
them-
of great animation in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Go
I've
West.
got one of the Lucky Luke comics where Luke tried to help these farmers try to cross a river, and I think they had to carry their luggage. I kind of think I forgot how it ended though.
Okay. You know, the funny thing is Lucky Luke kind of ruins a lot of my English because we used to have like a Dutch cartoon and very often they would use English words, but the voice actors would pronounce them as if they're Dutch words. So even the name Lucky Luke is very hard for me to pronounce because in the show they always said Lucky Luke. So I almost had to reprogram my brain to get it out of me. It's Lucky, not Lucky. Like they went to like a Wild West town called Dead Man's Gulch, but then they pronounce it like a Dead Man's Gulch, like a Dutch word.
Dead man.
Oh, Northern Netherlands is such a wonderful G sound. It's terrible.
Well, I guess now we
To
know
be
where.
fair, yes, Mr. Meltingman.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just making a joke, like, oh, the whole dead man's thing. Like, oh, I guess now we know where the whole phlegm bit came from, Ahmed. But that's a whole different. I don't know if anyone knows Jeff Dunham in here. I'm probably the only one.
The guy with the puppet?
No, I was just going to mention that.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention that. To be fair, English vowels or English sounds. I don't know. I feel like somebody was just making English without paying too much attention to what kind of letters are supposed to make what kind of sounds. So it's very normal to get confused with, is it lucky? Is it looky? Is it locky? What is it supposed to be? I have no idea. Like, I feel most English pronunciation is learned by making mistakes and getting yelled at by your teacher.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, well, I just say from how it's spelled. So, like, yeah, lucky. Yeah, that's how we've always spelled it here in America. So that's just how I pronounce it, just lucky, like that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the French have also inserted a lot of their words in English, and they tended how you pronounce it doesn't make any sense, like toilet. Or,
Yeah.
garage, yeah. So it doesn't always work. Like unfortunately, there's a lot of assimilation going on with language, so it ain't that straightforward most of the time. Or like the word kernel, you spell it like colonel or colonel, but you pronounce it as kernel. So there's a lot of words that don't make sense when you pronounce it. So don't be so chill on.
Silent letters as well. As in, you have so many silent letters, and I have no idea why you to write them.
Oh, especially the French are terrible at that. Oh.
Yeah.
French.
Yeah, word pronunciation is a bitch. Yeah.
It sure is.
Which is funny because Japanese is actually very simple to pronounce, but very difficult to read. So I guess it's the polar opposite of English.
I find it interesting that they cannot end a word on a vowel or a non-vowel. Like they can't end with this end. It always has to be endu or endo.
Oh, that's because they don't have it. They don't have them. Their system is syllabic. So, for example, they don't have syllables that are completely alone without a vowel. So, for example, words that end with a T are always going to have a strong sound because they don't have like a T sound. They just have the to or the tu or the tsu. So that is going to make it. It sounds kind of fun when Japanese people are trying to speak in English and they need to use a silent sound because they can't do it. It's impossible for them.
And that's always the first thing we make fun of them. Easy mocking people doing another language. Oh well. But yeah.
Well, it's just accent humor. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Nah, I'm sure most stuff.
Yeah, it's just like Americans can be very offensive with people doing that kind of stuff. I guess it's more just like how they view like older cartoons. They do like mock Japanese or mock dialogue, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. I grew up watching Speedy Gonzales on the TV, and I was like, "Hey, why is he dressed like that? Why does he talk like that?" That's very not rude, but it was kind of fascinating to me how American people watch Mexican people, because every time that I watch Mexico through American cartoons, it's always stuck like in the 1920s when we were in our revolution. As in, we have changed so much. It's been what, 100 years?
No, you're still cowboys. You're still like Lucky Luke.
Yeah. Of course, another stereotype like, oh, Spanish people, they're always lazy, blah, blah, blah. That was like a joke thing back then, but nowadays that's kind of more of like an extreme stereotype.
Yeah, like how in England we're always drinking tea.
Oh, yeah, the tea and the buck teeth and everything, yeah.
Wait, you mean to tell me that you don't drink tea?
Oh, I do drink tea on occasion, but I mostly drink coffee.
Ah, okay.
How
For a moment, I thought that TV was lying to me.
Yeah, and I always have to eat cheese because I'm Dutch. And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, Wensleydale.
Hey, at least Melting Man gets cheeseburgers.
Yeah, just plain cheeseburgers. Just like, without the toppings and whatnot. Especially ketchup. I'm allergic to ketchup.
Ah.
Oh, are you?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Probably
I suppose I suppose people picture me eating tacos, which is funny because I actually ate tacos last night.
Blasphemy.
But yeah, I guess.
Oh wait, you said you ate them. I thought you said you hated them.
Ah.
No, I don't hate them. They are actually really nice. It's very difficult to hate them. It's just that, you need to keep your weight in check.
And it's tough to eat them because all the fillings always fall out. Or maybe
Yeah,
it's
you gotta
because
get a
I'm an
good
idiot.
grip on them. Yeah.
Oh well. But yeah, I think we had a good talk. So shall we keep it at this?
Yeah, I don't see any
Well,
questions in the live chat. I think I only saw one that was related to Sonic.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
I only saw one question a long time ago. Well, not more like, or not like question, like a person was commenting that the reason why they didn't do the transformation of Zavok with the other set is because the comics are, or the games are supposed to be like E10. That's
Oh
that's
yeah,
not true.
trying to keep it that kid-friendly rating thing. Yeah.
I do not know because children like that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think that affects too much the rating.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just Sega just not understanding like American culture or kids, or if there's like a language barrier of some sorts, or if it's just the other way around.
Who knows with them? Who knows? Who knows? Or maybe they were just lazy. Makes no sense.
Probably. Sonic games have become extremely lazy these days, so yeah.
Yeah, I sure hope Sonic Frontiers is a little bit more ambitious.
Alright, so right, the Sonic question that someone asked, it was quite a while. It's Crino asked, I've got a question. Have the IDW comics help keep your passion for Sonic?
I thought the comics were alright.
They certainly make
Well-
story much better.
Well, it never went, but I think my situation is a little bit different from yours. Yeah, to be clear, Mexico is a little bit behind the times when it comes to technology. So we actually prefer retro games to newer games, at least people like me. The retro market is actually booming right now because you have the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube and the Xbox. So while everybody is being like, "Oh no, Sonic Forces was such a bad game," or "Oh no, this other game," I am here like just experiencing Sonic Adventure 2 for the first time. And
Oh,
it's like,
nice.
no, what? It's like, what's wrong with it? It's pretty much amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
back when
Brazil
Sonic
was-
games...
Brazil was known for still having Sega Master Systems, right? I mean, that's far away from you, of course, but also South America. I guess your continent.
Yeah,
is known for this
I actually would like to go to Brazil just to buy new Sega merchandise. I think that would be a nice thing to do.
Sure.
Yeah. As for me with IDW Sonic keeping the passion, yeah, it's pretty much the only official Sonic media that I follow these days because I've completely given up on the games after Sonic Forces and how just wasted it was. And it was kind of like, really, this is it? This is what the Sonic games are? Just wasted potential, extremely short, real lazy, shoving in nostalgia pandering. But yeah, that's just me ranting about modern day Sega.
For me, it's weird. I mean, the comics just don't occupy the same space in my brain as the game. So even though I'm enjoying a lot of fan games and a lot of the comics and all that, but when I think of the games, I'm still just as cynical and angry, like they don't exist. It's kind of weird. They just occupy a different part of my brain, so they haven't really affected my love for the games. I mean, they are enjoyable to just enjoy on their own, I suppose.
Yeah, to me personally, the comics, I think they are amazing. My only gripe with them is that they haven't been localized in my area, so I
Yeah.
cannot buy them.
Yeah, I think someone commented on my Twitter account how like they were asking me where they could find them. It's like, well, you can find them at Comic Store, and he says, "Oh, I live in Mexico, so we don't have them." And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, they haven't been localized, and so whenever I need to check them, I always check them online, which makes me feel like a pirate. But I mean, it's the only way in which I can read them because I have no access to them. But I think the art is amazing. I think the stories are really quite good. I think it has fixed many of the characters like that I disliked, like Amy Rose, for example. But they have ruined Shadow, which was one of my favorites. So
Yeah, we've definitely ranted a lot about how Shadow's been bastardized in IDW Sonic, but I think that's mostly just due to Sega's fault with all the band-aids and everything.
Yep. Yeah, Amy's indeed improved. But yeah, I guess you just have to import your comics. I do as well. Like I can barely find American comics in the Netherlands, but a friend of mine, Ewan, gets them from the UK for me. So.
Yeah, I know how that's like. Cause I know when I started to get more into Archie Sonic, and I wanted to try to read the comics in chronological order. I mostly just read the comics that are like on YouTube. Like sometimes people will just post scans of them that like, oh, here's a panel that goes for 5 seconds and then moves on to the next panel. Da da da. So that's how I kept up with my knowledge of Archie Sonic. And eventually, I started collecting more of the comics. I don't have all of them, mostly because a lot of the older issues that never got the graphic novel reprint treatment are not that easy to find for a decent price. So I'm like, screw it, I'll just go with scans. Whee!
Oh wow, we got a lot of questions all of a sudden. Which characterization
Yeah.
do you prefer, Japanese Sonic or US Sonic? Probably the Japanese version.
Yeah, I'd probably say Japan too.
That's easy.
yeah, I am going to say Japan too, just because it's like an exaggeration of what the Japanese believe an American character is supposed to be.
Well,
love
like
that.
well, I mean, Sonic in the U.S. it used to be fine for like the adventure games, heroes, whatnot. But
I
once
kind of
Contact-
like 90s US Sonic.
yeah, I'm more that.
That's
too.
true. The CTM and it was pretty good. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
love
know-
it. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like back when Eggman was known as Robotnik, and he was more scary and threatening, and he takes over the world with his robots, and Sonic's like this freedom fighter that's set in a nature versus industry kind of way.
Yeah.
I guess it
We've got
depends on the
record-
writer, so it's kind of like
Yeah. Yeah, so me, like, I like US Sonic, but more specifically, like, 90s Sonic and 2000 Sonic. That was kind of more of my Sonic win the games. But as for the 2010s era with Pontek and Graph, nah,
the
fuck that
Japanese
shit.
version wins. Yeah, but even the Japanese Sonic is not that much better. Just the writing is bad in general. But I love
Yeah.
it when Japan makes an exaggeration of America. It always make this more lovely, romanticized, badass America. Like Americans are always so cynical about themselves. They always hate themselves. They were like, oh, they're all
Well,
corrupt
that's
and
because
evil.
that's because they don't really have like any real knowledge of how other cultures are supposed to be. So
I guess.
everything for them is like a stereotype.
Oh,
So they
fairy tale.
exaggerate the
Yeah.
stereotype.
But it does create lovely worlds. I mean, the way how they portray Europe and America is amazing. Like, oh, I love how Japanese America Europe looks like. Well, we always portray ourselves as so bitter and cynical and depressed. Oh, well.
Yeah. Oh, here's one interesting. Thomas Proctor. Interesting question. Are English swears as taboo to say in Japan or German, or as they are in Anglo-Saxon world? What?
Anglo-Saxon world.
Yeah, that. So, like, common
Uh,
English swears, are they like
I think
taboo
maybe
in
English-speaking
cultures?
countries.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, when it comes to Japanese swear words, they don't care because they don't really understand the idea behind an actual swear word. They don't see it as something that you are not supposed to say. So the Japanese, for example, it's very normal in anime, even for children. The children are swearing. But yeah, apparently that is a big no-no when it comes to localization to English and to Spanish. You cannot have the characters, especially in a cartoon, you cannot have the characters swearing because the connotation is much more bigger and we are avoiding those words getting into the ears of children.
Yeah, that definitely would explain why in the Japanese version of Sonic X, a lot of the characters get away with cursing a lot.
Yeah, saying the S word in that.
Yeah, Sonic says shit a couple of times. And then, of course, yeah, different countries having different, yeah.
I remember one episode of Sonic X. Maybe it was another thing, but I remember Sonic saying something like "son of a bitch" in one episode. Actually,
I don't remember that. But yeah.
That
Then I
was
guess
the-
there's like different swear. I know like the English common swear, damn and hell, that kind of stuff. I don't know if there's any exclusive.
in Japanese, of course, not in English. In English, they change it completely to another thing.
Yeah, Then of course there's like the whole like any swears that are more commonly used in different countries. Because I know like in the UK or something they have like one curse word that's more used there and not used that much over here. So was it? I think twat. I think that's what it was called.
Sure, twat and bollocks, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They sound so innocent. In English, it's a very bad word, but for us, it just sounds cute. Think, that's adorable. Why are your curse words and swear words so adorable? Look, why?
We also got English words like binge.
Right.
Yeah. Let's oh, here's one question since we brought up Shadow before. What Shadow characterization do you prefer? Intense and passionate about everything, the Shadow game, meme Shadow, Team Sonic Racing, or what the ones in between?
Probably the Shadow the Hedgehog game. Sonic 06, that's what was the best. It was more father-like, was more grown up there.
Yeah, I'd probably be there too. Like, yeah, I mostly like Shadow before the meta era came. So, like, my main exposure to Shadow's characteristics was from Adventure 2, bits of the Shadow game, didn't play all the endings because there's way too many endings in that game. Didn't get to Sonic 06 yet, so I'll just have to take your word with Shadow being more like a father figure to Silver or something.
Absolutely, yeah. That seems Pocket Oni has audio problems. Maybe we should end it anyway. We had still a couple questions, so I guess we go quickly through them. Wait, one last question, it seems. What tone do you want for future Sonic stuff? I guess what I want the most at this point is just a reestablishing of the world, because at this point I don't know who the characters are or what their world is like. Like I like a game like Sonic Adventure where it kind of like established its foundation again.
Yeah, I kind of want to have it more a darker tone again, like they had in the 2000s game.
I mean, I guess Sonic Forces had a dark tone. It didn't really help.
It wasn't, well, not that dark.
Yeah, they just didn't do anything with it. Because, like, IDW Sonic, that was definitely dark with the whole Metal Virus arc, yeah.
Absolutely. But it's not really about if it's dark or light. It's just the context and depth of it. So I don't mind if it's a lighthearted story, but just make the characters feel whole again. Make the world feel whole again.
Yeah, make Eggman a sinister villain again.
Yeah.
What are we talking about again? I'm back. I just came back.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about talking about what tone do we want for the future of Sonic.
The tone. Oh, that's.
I like Sonic Adventure 2, as in that it has a lot of that page turner kind of quality. That there's like constant cliffhangers, constantly shocks. So the story has these nice beats all the time. Like, oh, now we discover this, and now we discover that. Now we're going in this direction. Like, it kind of felt that they had the same energy of Sonic in the tone itself. But other than that,
I'm kind of in that boat too. That's kind of what I want for the future of Sonic, just to bring back the adventure style or so.
Just energy.
Yeah, I guess that will be the best one.
This one wanted the most energy. Like the new latest Sonic just lacks energy. Whether it's comedy and lighthearted or dark and edgy, like everything has this laziness to it. Everyone's just kind of standing in an empty location. There's very little like depth. The music is so boring. Go to the Sonic Adventure music and it's constantly like
oh yeah, epic guitar solos. Yeah.
Everyone is like this big rocking theme song and it's like constant energy. And then you go to modern Sonic and it's just this dull, slow music and.
Or upbeat, happy music that tries to rip off Mario, aka Sonic Lost World.
Well, that's more than the levels, but
oh yeah,
the cutscenes just have no energy. Like that's the thing I want the most, energy. Like just turn it to a Looney Tunes cartoon, that's fine. But
yeah,
well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
yeah, because honestly, Sonic without an edge is not really an hedgehog. It needs a little bit of an edge.
True. But yeah, just make it dark and edgy is not the solution. Because Sonic Forces.
No, it's not really about being dark and edgy. It's more about being different, but in a nice way. Like right now, every single Nintendo franchise feels kind of like the same. Kirby, Mario, and Donkey Kong are pretty much the same right now. But Sonic at the time was super different. Like the music was very grungy. It had like very harsh sound. And the characters were actually characters. They were not just like pieces of a chessboard. They were actual characters with actual stories and actual things that they wanted to do and say. So yeah, that's probably the one thing that I wish will come back in newer instances of the games.
Absolutely, a lot more characterization. That's the best part of IDW, just seeing the characters much more interact and have more meaningful conversations and team ups.
Oh yeah.
Oh well. And we got yet another question. Oh boy, thoughts on the
Um,
Sonic Twitter takeovers? I thought we talked about them, right? We talked about the Sonic Colors takeover a bit.
There was
I
a
don't
new
know.
one like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, there was one building up to the release of Colors Ultimate, which, of course, we all know how the early release of Colors Ultimate, we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, I think we talked about that because we were. I don't know what we specifically said again, but my thoughts they're okay. I mean, they're just promotional
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. As for me, I usually just tend to ignore them. Mostly, just like I've seen some people like reanimate them. Like they take the audio from the Twitter takeovers and animate them with the models and like Source Filmmaker and Gary's mods. So that's my only main exposure. But as for the actual stuff, I usually just tend to ignore them. It's like, meta self-aware. I'm already sick and tired of that. So just let me live in my adventure paradise.
I liked the last one a little bit because it had dark humor. Because the Whisper there, and they were always portrayed as like violent aggressors. It was kind of amusing. But yeah, I mean, to a degree, I kind of respect them because to some level they kind of try to fix characters. Like Shadow gets, like they do put a little more effort into remembering that Shadow's supposed to take care of the world and it's not just a jerk like he is in the games now. But yeah, for the most part, it's just memes and jokes, and I'm not really a big fan of that. So.
Yeah.
But the voice of Shadow, that's not the correct voice. I'm sorry, that's not my Shadow.
Oh, you want to do a Shadow impersonation now?
What? No, I cannot do voices. I just think that Jason Griffith did a much better job.
Yes.
Oh yes, he definitely did a better job than Kirk Thornton. Like I know Kirk Thornton and a few other, mostly just him being the voice of Syax from the Kingdom Hearts series. So it seems like he just does a lot better just doing random anime guy of the week that he does instead of trying to be the gruff, dark, and edgy hedgehog character that he's supposedly supposed to be.
Yeah, well, we'll see with the new show, Sonic Prime, if a new voice cast helps. But I think it's mostly the voice direction that's the problem.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Sonic Prime, someone asked that, any hopes for Sonic Prime? I lost hope when they announced that Ian Flynn is a consultant, so I guess Retro Gamer's just not a fan of Ian Flynn.
I kind of lost hope when I learned it was about alternative dimensions. I don't like that concept, because that means it can't really have a foundation of its own. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
That every episode is just in a different dimension? And like, I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Well, I guess I can see that most because it's just them jumping in on that whole trend that's been going on. Oh, characters traveling through the multiverse. Because, like, Crash did it, Ratchet and Clank did it, SpongeBob's doing it, apparently. He's getting a game where he's traveling through the multiverse. So, yeah, so now it's Sonic's turn. But as for thoughts, personally, I don't have much, mostly because we still don't know anything about the show.
That's true. We don't know anything. At least I'll say the artwork we've seen looks nice. Although that's always frustrating, that when the concept art looks amazing compared with the actual look. I mean, Sonic Boom's concept art looks also awesome, but I kind of like the sketchy stuff anyway.
Yeah, I don't really take the concept art that seriously, mostly because after what happened with Sonic Boom, showing off the concept art like epic, adventure, exploring, and then you watch, like, say, the Sonic Boom TV show, and there's none of that in there. So I'm like, yeah, looks neat, but I'm not really trusting that to be like, oh, Sonic go to the jungle and meet Jungle Amy, or, oh, different multiple Eggmans going to face off Sonic. Yeah, I won't see it until I see it. I won't believe it until I see it. Show me the money, and that's kind of my attitude towards it.
Yeah, we can't decide anyway, but yeah, what I'm saying, just the concept doesn't appeal to me. It sounds like a fun singular episode, but for a whole series, like I guess I'm just missing the foundation.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could work. Like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That was a whole movie, and that got a lot of praise. So I don't know. Maybe that could work in a TV show. Maybe not. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll give him a chance. But yeah, I think we should end the stream now. Luke happens to be left for a bit. Maybe he's to the toilet, so he'd be...
well, with that demonic form he took on, I think he went back to hell.
See,
I told you guys we shouldn't have taken that detour to Greg's for those nice yum-yums.
Sorry.
Oh, come on. You needed to get me out of hell to be here, so yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway, yeah, any final messages to our viewers before we leave, Melting Man?
I don't have much to say. It's just tinkering around with Adobe Premiere and hopefully hopefully to get the Forgotten Media Christmas special up on time. I'm already been doing some work on it. In fact, I asked Luke to do some narration for the opening that
Ooh,
I'm
awesome.
planning to do.
Yes,
So yeah,
very
that would
cool.
be nice.
Oni, you have any messages for the people?
No, not really. Right now, I am not working on. Well, I am working on something particular. Since I got a little bit tired of translating comics that are not my own, I decided to start my own web comics. But I still haven't, created a page or anything like that. So maybe just, tell them in the future. Although I do not know how many people will actually care about my type of comic because I am not American. So and I am not Japanese, so you cannot expect me to write down the same way as an American writer or an American or a Japanese mangaka. Yes, it will be kind of like more similar to the Mexican comics that we have here that are not very popular in other parts of the world.
Yeah, like a libro vaquero, however you pronounce that.
Yes, El Libro Vaquero, that one.
Hmm.
Yeah, not very popular here, but it's very popular in Japan actually.
Nice. The ultimate manly cowboy action adventures. So you got to draw something like that, like very macho.
No, I have a different philosophy when it comes to drawing. It's mostly how to say it, between being black and white and very simple, and I would like to try something similar to the style of Tartakovsky. Is that the name of the guy that makes Powerpuff Girls?
Oh, I see, I see. Okay, I don't
Oh
know if
yeah.
that's the name, but yeah, I know Powerpuff Girls, obviously. Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah,
sounds
I
great.
wanted to try something like that, but
Okay.
I'm not sure if I can reproduce that style.
Oh well, best of luck. Yes,
Mhm.
that's what practice is for.
Yeah, just hope to use the style from the original Power, or based off of the original Powerpuff Girls, not the reboot.
Oh no, the reboot is horrible, honestly.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about it. Like I haven't seen
Actually, the reboot recalls me to Sonic Boom in many regards because you have superheroes, but they
Mhm.
are not doing anything superhero related. They go to school and the powerful girls now they are falling in love with a guy and they
Oh
just don't
yeah,
save the day anymore. They just are there. They happen to have superpowers, but they never use them. So it's kind of similar to Sonic Boom in that regard. That they
oh,
are supposed to be superheroes, but they never do anything about it.
oh man, that's just depressing.
Sounds like Sonic
'Cause,
Boom, but
yeah, I haven't seen the reboot for myself. My only main exposure was when they decided to guest star on Lego Dimensions, where you could play as the
oh
three
right,
girls.
that's true. Yeah. Okay, and I'm
Ah,
working now on finally finishing the Sonic X skits. I should have done a couple of streams ago, so I hope
Ah,
that's gonna
finally
be.
finish. Yeah, finally finishing the baseball skit. Yeah.
Sorry, it took so long. I had a very busy time.
Dude. Yeah, which not to toot my own horn, but I did a little bit of voice work for this bit.
It's
I
gonna
want to
be a
see
little
through the
more,
lines out.
a little more complex than usual. So I'm trying to finish it this week, so you might see that one soon. But yeah,
All right.
it's time to finish. The stream has been going on for very long, so
Yeah,
thanks
it's
for
probably the
watching.
yeah, quite the longest live stream we've had so far. So yeah,
Absolutely.
goodbye.
Hey, it's the first time we have a guest, so there you go. So bye bye,
sorry
everyone.
about that. I tend to
Goodbye.
talk a lot, so sorry.
Sure.